Very good.
That's everybody. Recording is fantastic. Well, good morning, everybody. Let's start with the pledge. Please try to. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands. Today is our second budget work session to review the 2023 tentative budget for. Just like going like this, so we're singing along. You singing along?
I can never orient myself.
Oh, okay, no problem. I just didn't know. Anyway,
I'm
2023
sorry.
tentative budget for the town of Boston.
Councilman Meyer is joining us virtually.
Councilman Meyer is joining us virtually. Which I believe, did we notice that? I don't know, but he's here, he's with us. And we hope you're feeling better soon, and so the rest of your family as well. Did we just lose him, or did you just flip? Okay, he's just participating. Okay, I see. There he is.
Like every other meeting, first 30 seconds.
Exactly. So hopefully we are not muted. And I think that I'm going to turn it right over to our budget director, Victoria Caparelli, to take us through the budget. We're starting today with the town clerk, and welcome to our judges and our clerk and more.
Okay, great. So we have at the top, so just for, to get started in our justice support, we have two parts of the budget. Regular justice support operations, and then there's the traffic bureau, which gets billed back to the village via NRA, because the primary function of that department is for the administration of parking tickets. So we're going to go through the justice court portion first, but you'll see some, references to the other portion of the budget, so that those costs are reflected to the village.
Those of us who don't have paper, we zoom in and check that potentially for. Just so that, and then we can just follow on if it occurs.
Where I can see it.
May I say something before we get into the numbers?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I was at a tour last week of Woodfield Cottage, which is something that judges must do once every term. And I ran into, there were a lot of judges from a lot of courts there. I ran into a judge from one of our other town courts locally, who's been a visiting judge in our court, and he asked how everything was going. And then he commented with a certain level of amazement that we are a judge's court. So I just thought that would be a nice way to start off this discussion.
Okay, so at the top here, we have all of our salaries. For the judges, we show an increase of 2% on their salaries, just like all the other elected and appointed officials for the town. The rest of the staff are part of the CSEA unit, so their salaries are largely only tied to the salaries in the CSEA agreement. You'll see Fernanda Lilly, who is our intermediate clerk, Spanish speaking, since most of her job does have to do with the Traffic Violations Bureau. Only half of her salary is noted here. The other half is in the other portion of the budget. And at the top here, this chargeback of town court supervision, that's a portion of everybody's salaries that gets charged back to the Traffic Violations Bureau. Okay, overtime, there was a requested increase in overtime this year. I'm not sure if the judges want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure. The reason I believe is because, as you recall, during 2020, portions of 2020 and portions of 2021, we did not sit as regularly as usual because of the pandemic. And so, as we sit more regularly, as we have been doing consistently for over a year, the overtime will go up because we're having more sessions, and when our clerks stay past regular business hours, they put in for overtime.
One of the other one of the other things is that when we have night court, which is our parking and vehicle and traffic calendar, landlord tenant, we always have an interpreter, and we have noticed across the board that the number of Spanish speaking motorists tickets or litigants in landlord tenant cases has really gone up. And having one interpreter in the courtroom to facilitate conversations with the prosecutor in the lobby, and then to do pleas on the record. Sometimes a logjam gets created where we're waiting for the interpreter, and everyone in the court is sort of sitting idle, waiting for the interpreter so we can continue. And so we have two clerks who can interpret, do Spanish interpretation. So we want to use additional overtime to have an additional clerk present to be a second interpreter, so that we can avoid those logjams where we're having an entire staff sitting still waiting for that one person.
Makes sense.
And the other thing is when we use, just one last thing, when we use Precise Translation, which is the outside contractor we use for interpreting services, they charge us $170 just to show up. So even if it's if we need it for one case or 50 cases to show up for an evening. So if we can be a little more strategic with how we employ our resources, we think we could actually get better than that. And another part of this, related, it's going to be discussed on a later line, but a related line is trying to incentivize Jessica Zinnin, who is many of us think is one of the best interpreters we use for any court session, to take on more or retain her, incentivize her to come to more evening calendars, because the rate that she charges us as an individual employee, or that we pay her as an individual employee, is much less than what we have to pay to Precise. What we have to pay that fixed rate, $170 for an evening court session, and if it's for a full day, Precise charges $350 for the full.
Absolutely. She would charge us 25 and then she's a foreigner.
And she's really the best interpreter in the court. She can do simultaneous translation, which means
So can you define incentivize?
well, we had asked at our previous meeting if the town would consider giving her a raise. And because basically when she comes, it's sort of a la carte. If she
So that's what's in here.
Well, this is what we're talking about here is overtime.
yeah,
Right,
so I know that's on a later line. I just,
Right.
it's related to the discussion because we also have two clerks who can do interpreting. So I brought that up in this discussion because it's related to, and I think in our budget goals, we acknowledge that translation services, the amount what we're required, and it's, the right thing to do, to have translators, not just for the court sessions, but to assist the parties. If in a criminal court session, if a non-Spanish speaking attorney is assigned to represent a Spanish speaking client, to facilitate private attorney client conversations with them, many of those take place right in the courtroom. So it's something that's on our mind, and the level of services that we have to provide is really going up. The other judges are, that's the longest tenured judge. You've seen that as well.
Yeah, I would say, Sparrow, that since 2016, when I started, the need for translation services, particularly Spanish translation services, has increased by, I would say, multiple of 2 or 3. As Judge Sparrow indicated, we're now at the point in our evening sessions where we actually need to have 2 Spanish language translators instead of 1. when I first started, we had somebody who occasionally who spoke Spanish, occasionally translate, but now it's quite regular, and over the last 2 years or so, it's gone up quite a bit.
So that's,
So I'll just quickly, say one thing, but first, all of us take seriously our obligation to provide equal access to justice. So it's really also a matter of, Justice Sparrow was talking about the log jam, and sometimes what we try and avoid that is take the English speakers first. Now, people are coming out of turn. One thing people who come into court know is what we're taking. And so if we are doing that, some people can feel a little bit shortchanged. But I'll say with Jess Zinnin also, she's a teacher in the school here. And so it's really a wonderful way to fold in another aspect of a community member. So some people who come to court might recognize her. And so it makes the court sort of a more community-based experience. And I just, for on-the-ground experience last night, I was fortunate enough to have both Justin and Catherine Quisby, who is another one of our clerks, who is also Spanish speaking. And Catherine was able to sort of jump in when there was the logjam situation, and it really worked seamlessly, and we were out quickly. So with all of the emphasis on evidence-based practices, I just wanted to bring the evidence that it really did make the proceedings much more efficient.
Very well, policing perspective, that you're seeing some remorse. Folks, before you. When we talked about equity, I'm just thinking about that out loud. In any case, I just wanted to, I'll say yes, thank you. I absolutely think that it is an issue of equity to make sure that we do have justice for, that people can understand what is on the table for them. And certainly I wish that the courts would be assigning people who could speak the languages.
I'll also say I'm not 100% sure if this ties into overtime, but as Judge Reisman started off, we are a busier court. We do have a backlog of jury trials, and so I know Justice Sparrow had a jury trial. I just had a jury trial. We'll have another one scheduled. I'm not sure if this year. I know in January.
Well, Mark has one this one, I have another one at the end of the place, so.
There we go. So
Yeah. Yeah, time. So that should help. Yeah.
I'm in terms of overtime and having had additional hours because of those sessions.
Right.
And so as we what's going to happen, this is sort of COVID aftermath, and we'll be doing more than like doing. So that's an additional cost factor for overtime.
Just in terms, of when you say COVID aftermath, I mean, 2022, was that not a full year?
And then
So we're looking like comparing.
I don't think we were permitted to do jury trials.
So the last September 2021, the Commissioner of Jurors, we had a meeting with her. And there were a lot of restrictions, and we actually never got off the ground with the jury trial until this year, when they really lifted the restrictions. And so the trial that I had, that those charges emanated from 2020. So it was a case that it was difficult to schedule it, and even once we were, I don't know if the case you had was similarly of that age, but with a lot of even non-jury cases still working their way through, and cases that were more difficult to resolve from those years that are still working their way through the system. So getting back to normal court operations has meant that we're dealing with a lot of those all at once.
Gotcha.
So you.
oh, well, they can see us talking,
Oh, they can?
because we're the,
Oh, okay.
main.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right now, you're just seeing me.
Gotcha,
We
gotcha.
are.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I can see you.
okay.
Okay, so, moving along from overtime, that is why we see an increase in overtime here in the justice court, budget. Into longevity, we do have a number of employees who have been in the town for quite some time, including, I think, Maria hits an anniversary this year, so her longevity bumped up a little bit. We have sick pay incentive, and is one of our employees who does take, sick pay incentive, I'm sorry, we have a number of employees who take advantage of the sick pay incentive, and is one of our employees who takes advantage of the health sector. So we have this budget here for sick pay incentive and then also.
Just to be clear, the health stipend is an offset, basically, because somebody has said, I'm not gonna take the insurance, so if they get a benefit for not taking insurance, just still overall savings to the town. Thank you.
Okay, then into part-time, we have our court officers here. And then we have half of, we referenced earlier, we're hopefully on the brink of hiring a Spanish-speaking part-time clerk to work in the court. That position has been vacant for some time. And this is half of the employee, the other half of their salary is accounted for in the traffic violation.
I would say, I think it's worth noting that we've had a lot of trouble over the years finding someone to stay in that position or even hiring for that position. We do, I think we're on the verge of hiring someone, but I would note that just under today's economy, with inflation, with many other walk down the street, everyone's hiring. That $15 an hour is probably low for the responsibilities that we're asking that person to do. Handling a lot of money, there's a lot of regulations that Ann could tell you about in greater detail about what we have to do to count the money. There's a lot of regulations about accounting for all of that. And so I would just note that I think that $15 an hour is low for the responsibilities that we're asking of that person. And I would consider adjusting that for in the future responsibilities.
I will just note that I think part of the challenge, of course, I'm sure to some extent, the salary is tied to it, but I think we've had a challenge hiring for any part-time positions. Anytime that we post for a part-time position, we get slim to none applications. When we post for a full-time position, even at fairly low salary for a full-time position,
Right.
we get a lot more applicants. So I think the challenge may be the part-time hours or part-time responsibilities, people looking for full-time work, perhaps more so than salary. But certainly that is continue to evaluate as we go along. This is the starting salary that we offer for all part-time employees in the town, basically an entry-level position like this one. The general fund is a little tight this year, so.
What does part-time look like? How many hours a week?
17 and a half.
Okay. And that's spread out over how many days?
Depending on what the folks need.
A week, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
so
5 days a
17
week, 17 and a half hours a week, so
It could
depending
be-
on the office.
It could be 3 days, it could be 5 short days,
Okay, because
Yeah.
there were,
Just a
there
maximum
were,
of 17 and a half hours.
yeah, because there were part-time positions we talked about yesterday that were like 30 hours.
Yes, that
So-
was specifically our nutrition site director.
I'm just
yeah.
wondering if we could get more applicants if the part-time meant
If
more.
we offer more hours, then we have to offer them health insurance. So we have to keep it at halftime, so this is always the trade-off that we're dealing with. If you
Yeah.
have an employee who works too many hours,
I
we
get
have to offer them health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. So these are, Lynn, the situation that she's in has a lot to do with civil service. We were already
Right.
providing her health insurance. So,
No, you
yeah,
explained it right there.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but.
And that's why people would prefer full-time.
Right, but I was just, wondering how can we get more applicants, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so we had someone in that line, I think, last summer, a high school student. And then we had someone in that line.
A graduating senior.
Yeah, she was a senior heading into college, yeah.
Okay, and then we had someone from about February through midsummer. Fresh and Missouri.
Great.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Was in that line.
Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the history has been not having someone there long term and that it's. Yeah. I would think and suggest that, again, I used the word incentivize before about interpreter, if we could incentivize someone to really stay and become a part of our team, that's a really important position to have. Well, we can have both of our windows open. Sometimes you'll see a line of people out the courthouse in the morning, those people there to pay tickets and so the functionality of those windows and also having two people at the front to take tickets means someone can take their break and we can have uninterrupted coverage of the window. And we've also talked about expanding our hours back to the pre-COVID hours where we would have the window up to 30 like we used to, and having a full staff is part of that overall picture. So
Should we propose a warning, don't have budget line?
I mean, yeah,
That's for you guys. Yeah, no, you know what, I think it's all good, let's take it under advisement, but as Victoria mentioned, we're very tight general fund right now, unless it's something that we can negotiate maybe back with the village, to take on some additional, that is, if, there's some way to identify what it's related to, the additional time that you need for, then we can, maybe some options, I don't know, I'm not gonna say that we do or don't, but that would be an inspiration.
If there's any,
I could just, I'm sorry, if I could just add to that very quickly. As you'll see in our gold sheet question answered earlier, it took us a while, but we were able to install Dropbox with proper security and connection to our computer systems, the camera connected computer systems, and also in large part due to Judge Sparrow's efforts, we're able to get online parking ticket pay up and running. And even with that, we still have crowds of people who want to pay tickets at the window or and those other things. But it seems like we're going to have an ongoing issue of having people want to come to the pay tickets.
And mostly parking tickets you're talking
I think so.
So just to be clear, okay, there's a Dropbox sitting right next to them, but they want to hand it in at the window.
That's right.
Okay, well,
And
the Dropbox, not for the Dropbox,
so the Dropbox,
office hours.
it's only for off hours,
Dropbox are closed,
right,
they can drop it off. But
right.
So what happens, like, if you see somebody drop something in that, like, during office hours and then,
We check it all the time. So.
so could have a little sign, or if you don't, you could conceivably drop it over here also and alleviate the line.
They really like to.
They like to hand it in and get it.
well, I also am curious, wasn't there also a little bit of a delay in? I know that you guys have been working very closely with the village on the new parking ticket systems, and I know they're implementing new things with Passport. Is that going to, is that perhaps going to make it a little easier for people to do it online, like less of a delay and tickets and such?
They haven't, our haven't been trained yet. It's slowly up and running.
Yeah.
There are other issues with that. We just became aware of certain changes to the code. And that could affect our ability to take certain things. I think I can only leave
it
it
would
at
just
that.
be online, but it would in general. but
Yeah. We have, that has to be worked out.
I think it's someone wants to pay the credit card. So they're not going to use the Dropbox. We don't, in the Dropbox, we don't accept cash. It's only, the only form of payment really put the Dropbox in the money order. So we use the Dropbox for, if they want to plead not guilty, they can there, they fill out a little form at the box, but so that's for some types of transactions, off hours. While we're open, that's there, but the majority of people want to come to the window. Whatever. Or talk to the clerk. Which is that we have violations there. Really, that's given us some additional, an additional option, but it's really, the main service we're providing is.
Excellent. Right along, so we have a equipment, which I can't recall whether it's, was a little high this year, Dale, that's associated with, the JCAP. So the JCAP grant, the grants they're able to apply for every year through the, Justice Court, it was charged to this line, so that's why it looks like it was high last year, but we have, kept that budget steady. Into telephone. And telephone and internet, we have an allocation for service to, when the system needs to be serviced at the court. The optimum bills and the device service, which can put both those. That is all there. Printing and postage, that is something we need to look a little bit more closely at. We've had it been a little low this year, but that is we did increase that in 2022 or in 2020 actually, in anticipation of some changes in the reporting system and notifications and things.
And have we seen that material?
Well, we think something's being miscoded. I don't think that's been addressed yet, so.
It looks like it's going up and down, up and down.
Yeah, well, it went down, so it was, this year's 2020, this year is 2021, and this year is 2022. So we did, I think, continue the budget at 7,000 in 2021, but there was perhaps a budget adjustment at the end of the year because we didn't come in as high as we had budgeted for, so.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this across the board, all the way back from 2018 even to 2019.
Right.
Well, they changed to how, that's the mail, that's why we increased it.
Okay. Okay,
So,
There's some kind of miscoding
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, I'm sure it's further down.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
in there somewhere.
So then we have our office and supplies expenses, which we kept the same for almost 2023. ARCO cleaning did get an increase this year, so we have that increase here, and then for the court. We have a line for constable security services. The reason why this is low is because of the we haven't been billed yet for the apply which gets back go court security yet, and that is, correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, that is actually the reason that gets charged to the general fund. So that just hasn't happened yet, but we've had a relatively late year on console service, which is interesting. Okay. Professional dues and meetings, we have the membership to the Magistrates Association for our 3 judges. Conferences, this line is for our court attends the Association of Towns Conference when it's held in person in New York City. Their attendance at the conference is free. However, we do reimburse for meals and travel and things like that. So for the past 2 years, that conference has not been held in person. So that's why we have not had expenses in that one for 2 years, but we do have that budgeted for hopefully our courts will be able to attend this year.
You know, if they're hosting it in person, then it's gonna be.
There's, yeah, so far they've advertised it for.
And they put on the same programs for judges, and those, they are offering in person now this year, and I think I read that they're expecting to return the clerks. The Office of Justice Court support for the state that puts those.
Okay, to uniforms, we have uniforms for our court attendants and then periodic cleaning of judges' robes. So we have not had to spend on either of those this year because we haven't had that new.
We had a donut line. you would have-
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Poor Joe.
Tail for your donuts.
okay, to save the $300. Thank you, Judge Levitt. We appreciate that. consulting services, that is a line where we used to charge the telephone bills too, but a couple years ago we established a line for telephone bills. That's why it's 0. It will again eventually fall off, but that's why that's there. It's strange. Stenographer translator services. So again, to the conversation we were having earlier about increasing the pay for Jeff Zinnon and perhaps the need for some of the other translation agencies that the port uses. We've increased the budget from 15,000 in 2022 to 25,000 in 2023.
And just to fully get it out there, normally our record is kept by an electronic recorder on the computer. If we have jury trials or other proceedings, we need a live stenographer. And so as those have increased over this year, that's another thing that bumped up our costs.
Yeah, that's generally cool, by the way. Where we
Yeah.
call it stenographer. And just for whatever it's worth, there are other local town courts that have a stenographer cover, which is a live court, where we cover court sessions from the second they begin until the second they end, regardless of the nature of the case. So I think that our court operates pretty efficiently that way. We only call it a live court. Yes,
And we do report,
yes.
we have a jury trial right here. We have tests too.
Cases.
Okay, then we have a line for books, which is for the books of laws that they have to purchase. So you.
We don't,
Yeah, very much.
yeah. OCA provides us, I believe it's OCA, provides us with online research. So the majority of our legal research at least. So it's not. Didn't get the benefit of a reference you can go to very quickly.
Yeah, we put the McGills on that.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. There's a standard 2 volume, I say volume, they're thin, but they have all of the standards on it for penal law offenses, vehicle traffic offenses, and it is it's a standard reference.
And actually, I think this year, for the first year, we ordered 1 copy of the hunting and fishing.
That's correct.
Because we started getting a lot of fishing cases.
Yes.
Okay.
Is the county writing those tickets?
It's,
Well, it's a fishing case, so
We have seen police.
yeah.
State? No.
No,
Yeah.
DC.
Yes.
No, they just said the state.
Yeah. There's 2 frequent tickets that, types of cases. We see cases read by NTA and cases read by, I believe it's DC.
Yeah.
And they both involve the allegations of people fishing in the same area, crossing the tracks.
So that's empty, that explains that, yeah.
Is there one area that sticks out more than the other? And where do you think it's come from?
That's more like a law enforcement question. I kind of would decline to go there.
I wonder where they're fishing at.
Yeah.
No, I- What are all the other?
Yeah.
What's it?
Yeah. That's about it.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, so now we are into the Traffic Violations Bureau. So this is where we see the rest of Fernanda Lilly and then the negative from the other budget being charged here. I'll put it here. We also increased the overtime in this line from 4,000 to 6,000 in the tentative budget per the request of the court. Longevity, since Fernanda has only been with the town for a couple of years, she does not qualify for longevity yet. Sick pay incentive, we do have budgeted in here, should Fernanda qualify for that in the year. In the part-time line, again, we have the other half of the part-timer we discussed earlier, and a portion of the court attendance. Contractual services, this is for passport. So those are the bills that you'll see, there's couple months on this upcoming voucher detail report. So the town board will see that in their meeting next Thursday. But that is where that gets charged to all those bills. That's the software that's used for the processing.
And that's charged back to the village.
That's charged back to the village. Then we have printing and postage, and it's additional allowance similar to the other budget. Office and supplies. We do have something budgeted here for any office and supplies that are, or office supplies that are specific to the functions of the traffic violation bureau. Office equipment and leases. We have 250 in here. This was a question that we did discuss in the first round of budget meetings. I'm not sure if any of the judges had a chance to research this. Is there anything that we need to account for the implementation of the new passport software, any new computers or anything like that?
One thing did come up just recently. The machine that prints the receipts for the old passport system, I understand doesn't work with the new software they've just
I think
installed.
they may have fixed that, but she still needs a computer on her desk.
A printer.
Excuse me, a printer on her desk. To print out court dates for people that are requesting not guilty pleas for parking.
Right,
And she doesn't have a printer on her desk.
Okay.
So we might need one
We
additional
need one
printer.
additional- Actually, for the part-timer too, she'll need a printer too.
So
It's not a color printer, that's just.
No, again, that should be a charge back to the village, because.
Yeah.
I believe now, it's for parking, but. They
So should
don't
we-
need printers.
should we increase this to like $1,000, Dale? I think right now we have 250 in that line, or should we just deal with it when it comes?
Looking at the lines, I don't know where you have things planned for this year, or maybe for
I would love to
this
have
year.
it this year, because they've been going without, they printed the main
Yeah.
printer. And
I
we're
would
all
say
printing, so there's a lot of backup.
Yeah,
She can have it on part-time on her own desk.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will not change the budget, but Anne, call Christina to order that printer.
Two of them, can I get two part-time days?
Okay, the constable security services, so this is also a portion of the design that is charged to the general. Stenographer, translator services, we did also increase this from 1,000 to 2,500 for parking operations. Okay. And that is the traffic violation bureau. Now into the revenue side of things. So the first line item is for the parking violations IMA. So this is basically the pass through, right? Everything we just discussed and budgeted for, and then we reflect it as a revenue coming in from the village next year. So it's like basically a wash in our budget. The other line item here is fines and forfeiture. So these are the fines and the revenues that the court brings in. We did take a dip in this line in 2020, so we reduced the budget in 2021 to it was 160,000 to 100,000. We were at 100,000 last year. We did bring this up to 135 going into 2023 because we are seeing that we're, you know, sort of ticking back up and things are sort of back to pre-COVID normal. So we have increased the expected revenues in that line to adjust for that. And that is the justice court budget. All right, so sharing, what's anything else to see, and this question. Anybody else? Okay. Good. Fantastic. And thank you all very much.
Just want to thank everybody here. Yeah, that's fine. Great working with us.
Absolutely. And we appreciate all that you do.
This is kind of off budget comment, but I just want to say that, at least from my perspective, the clerks in our court do excellent work. They work really hard. They do their best to be courteous, and they are courteous to everybody who comes to the window. And I would also like to say that I think that our judges work very well together. Try very hard to where necessary, appropriate the policies that that are consistent across the line. And I think we're very collaborative. That's my perspective.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll just add that hardly a court session goes by where attorneys, and the attorneys who are in court are a lot of the other local courts. Scarcely a session goes by where I'm not told, you guys really have the best clerks in the town and village courts, and I can say, having been a practitioner in the town and village courts, it's 100% true. And especially, and leading it, you know, we've had new people come in. Catherine Quisby has come in and done a wonderful job, and I won't take anything away from Catherine, but I think we would all agree that it's knowing how to train someone and have skills to just run a clerk's office. So we are very fortunate.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to have be appreciated and we appreciate it.
Thanks for keeping it
We
alive.
appreciate it. Yeah.
I felt like I disagreeing and saying how much free they get.
Yeah, we have it, and I've worked at.
Jeff better get his.
I just- no, no, I'm just asking. Worked in a number of different courts, state courts, public courts, and we have an amazing court and amazing court staff. And it's really something special that we have here in Ossining. So,
And we're a busy court, like Mark said, so it's not just a capital.
You could start with that, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
No,
And when that lawyer said it, by the way, when that other judge said it, he said he said it with a large amount of amazement. He seemed to be amazed that we're able to cover things with. So I think that says something.
Our board has changed. We don't seem like a small village court. We're really a city court, I think. And in different cases. Rose occasion, so we agree to.
Yeah.
all right. So appreciate it.
Nice to
Thank you.
Thank you.
just remind over the phone.
It's a hybrid, people can watch. Greg is actually home with his kids, so he's on Zoom with us.
Do we have it later? Pay attention.
No, he is the only,
He's our panelist, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm going
Here's
to
your board.
share my, wait, hold on one second. Okay, so we will start with the building department. So John is another one with 3 departments in his budget. We've got the building department side of things, and we've got planning and zoning.
Okay.
So we've got for our staff,
Zoom in again. I don't know if you did last time. This is okay, one more time. Thank you.
okay,
And
I don't want to lose the whole page.
yes.
Okay, so for our staff, we have Sandy Anelli and Margaret Kahn, who are the staff of the building department. Their salaries are set by, the CSEA contract. John did request, an increase in, Sandy Anelli has a stipend because she's also a code enforcement officer, so she can, perform code enforcement functions. We had provided her a stipend of $10,000 last year, with a stip with the CSEA union, that did expire at the end of 2022. So, something we had to re-up anyway in 2023. And given the fact that John is looking to leave, and so Sandy will be sort of the institutional knowledge in the office, and also perhaps the code enforcement officer for some time, he did request an increase from 10,000 to 15,000 for our stipend when it's 2023. We did note that in the budget.
What are the proper titles for Margaret and Sandy?
Sandy's title is senior office assistant, and Margaret's title is intermediate clerk.
Thank you.
But Sandy is doing her best to train for code enforcement and hopefully something.
Yeah, well, as we know, she's gone through all the training.
Yeah,
She is fully certified, and she's not certified as a code enforcement officer, she's certified as code enforcement official, which is above a code enforcement officer. She's at the top.
Yeah.
So she's able to do any job because she's fully certified.
unfortunately, though, not qualifications for building inspector, in
Yeah.
Germany, which we are
Yeah.
very frustrated to learn. So
Well,
it's a very unfortunate situation. Yeah, but so also Sandy and Margaret do perform functions associated with the planning board and the zoning board, so we charge part of their salaries to those lines in the budget. So that's why you see, 15% of Sandy's salary goes to planning, 15% goes to zoning. And Margaret, 10% of her salary goes to zoning, since Sandy took on more of these code enforcement functions. Margaret has taken on more on the zoning board side, so we've kind of been reallocating their job functions to accommodate. We do have overtime there for, this is primarily for planning and zoning board meetings. We actually took it out of this budget. You'll see it in the other parts of the budget, at least it should be there. Make sure that we need to fix that if not. Then for longevity, Sandy and Margaret both do get longevity because they've been in town for more than 5 years. Sick pay incentive, again, they both qualify for that. Margaret is another one of our employees who say that she's not on that insurance. Part-time, we have, this is the salary for the building inspector. So we have it 2% over what we are currently paying John Hamilton, because it's a competitive title with civil service. We have to really negotiate the salary. We have to advertise it at a certain salary, and we can't change, can't really alter from that going for a period of time with civil service. So that is why that was the decision that was made for the building inspector position. Equipment, we do have budgeted here for any office equipment that comes up. Vehicles, the reason why this is at 0 is we did have a lease for John's vehicle for a number of years. First it was the Nissan Leaf, and then the vehicle that John currently drives. We haven't had that lease in 2 years, so again, that line will kind of phase off unless we have a reason to lease a new vehicle.
Well, we paid off the lease, we bought the lease.
Correct, yes.
Which is why it's at 0.
The vehicle's still there.
Yeah, so it's over with us.
Yeah. And we also are using, Sandy's using the.
Sandy's using.
yeah.
Right.
using
Which
both,
also
yeah.
pays.
Yeah. Trees contractual, this is for Craig Stevens to review the tree permits. We did increase that this year because there's been an increase in tree permits issued, but there is an offset revenue when somebody gets a permit. So it's just, strike out some business. Telephone, this is for the telephone service to their office. I charge part of our townwide telephone bill to this fund, make it starts there. Printing and postage, we do start in planning first on printing and postage.
Right.
It's sort of-
So building.
Yeah, so we are now at the building portion of the year
Right.
where we've run through the other ones. Office supplies, we did increase that in 2021, I believe because of the I think it was because of the comp plan. I don't know, we had some
Well, we
plans.
had to come back. But also just in general, things got a little bit more expensive,
Yeah,
so we just bumped it a little bit more, just another $100.
yeah. The maintenance and repair also leases. We have a copier lease. We do also still have in here the municipal maintenance. I suppose that's something we can take out, but since we're still working on the RFP and what the next software is going to be, we haven't expended it this year, but we have it there to municipal. Oh, yes, municipal is what you're using. Some prosody. What was the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that was a blip on the story of the building department.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah. The secure constable services, so sometimes they have to notice,
Court appearance tickets. We have to serve them.
thank you very much, John. So that's there for the event that needs to happen for building code violations. professional dues and meetings for, the, different associations that John and Sandy are both part of. So we did increase that going into 2022 when Sandy became code enforcement official. Conferences is for attending any conferences. I don't think there's been really any in-person conferences.
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen this year.
Yeah.
They haven't told us anything, so we don't know if we're gonna have a chance to do online or not, so we have to go on assumption, because these are mandatory to keep certified. We have to keep this in here on the event that we can't do, or they can't do it.
Unleaded fuel, we were able to bring that down in recent years because we are operating on hybrid and fully electric vehicles in the building department, so. That's been great. In-service training, so again, these are the various trainings that the building department has to do. We did increase the additional training because we seemed like we were getting close to what we budgeted for, but now we really have 2 employees participating. We have budgeted for any vehicle parts for the building department vehicles, since we do have electric cars that require less service. But I know we've had tire here or there, the windshield wipers.
The largest thing this year was that motor that went out at the clock. It was off warranty, so they had to remove that, otherwise it would have not budget again. But the tires are coming, I think, close to the end, so.
Books. Any needs for books? We've got it there.
Well, yeah, because we have a lot of like small handbooks on disability, accessibility. There's various books that they don't have online that we keep, because we do run into this when we're reviewing the plan. We have to make sure it's a bathroom accessible. Like if you're going to have assembly, you need an elevator. So we that's why we keep that budgeted in there. If they put out a newer book, we get that one to conform to the current code.
And then we have the intermunicipal rent. So this is the rent for the space at the Armory. We did also budget in 2022, and we left it here for 2023, a share of the town for the screener that's at the building of the Armory. So that's something that we started doing in 2020 because of COVID, but we have found it to be helpful from like a safety perspective and just all of our experience dealing with public air buildings, that there's someone that greets them before they come in. So we did agree with the village that we would contribute some to the cost of those employees, since they're visiting town offices as well. Okay, so that is the expenses on the building department side. Then we have revenue. So we did increase the expected budget for the safety inspection fees. John has been doing real great in that regard.
But I do have a concern because interest rates are rising rapidly. I'm seeing a slowdown. I don't know how it's going to progress into the future, but we're getting a little bit less on the permanent side.
So Dale, how do you feel about where we're at? We had increased it from 90 to 110 on the safety inspection fees. We're at 128 actual so far.
It's building.
Well, it's building, plumbing, anything that comes through our office. We put it into it.
Well, that's what John's saying, is he's concerned about increasing the revenue.
Yeah,
Increasing the revenue.
decreasing.
Decreasing.
Instead of 110, if you want to go to either the 90 or the 1.
Right. Okay, so that zoning fees, we have kept the same, planning board fees kept the same. Planning consultant fees. There, but nothing. And those are the revenues for the building.
Before we finish up with
Yeah.
building, we did send something up to you to handle backflows, to put in a line on the fee schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we, so for a long time, that backflow inspections, were being administered by the village for, properties in the town as well as the village. Since we are both moving forward with new softwares, before we had a shared database, which was kind of problematic for a number of reasons. So now that we have two separate databases, the village is no longer able to administer anything with properties in the town. So the building department, our building department will now be administering backflow inspections. And so we asked John and Sandy to look into what fees should be charged, because that's something we had previously noted in our fee schedule. So we have, they came up with some recommended increases to reflect the cost of that work.
So where would that go?
It probably hit as, it would probably hit as savings. Right, because it's like building, falling for.
Probably got more postage also, because now you're gonna have to mail out more reminders to get out.
Well, we've been doing it. They handed it over to us at the beginning here. So the postage is factored into our postage line, right? That's already factored in. The revenue won't be tremendous because we've got a lot of this done already. It's really for new things coming in, like what we've been doing. Just so people aren't aware, when you, like, build a new house, you now have to put backflow into the house as well. So just a little public service announcement.
Yeah. And residential's have to get a check annually also. Just like
Yeah,
commercial.
but not required by us. That would be something they do on their
Or
own.
other.
Yeah.
That is building department. We can now move into the planning and zoning side of things, starting with zoning. So here we have a portion of Sandy and Margaret's salaries. Budget, you know, accounted for here. This is where we put in the, okay, good, I did do it, the overtime for associated with the zoning board meetings is there. For when our staff works, those meetings in the evenings. Publication of legal notices. For the that, printing and postage. Conferences that any of our zoning board members can also attend training. Stenographer services, also similar to the court. I know sometimes the zoning board has to take, you need a stenographer for.
Now, the way we look at it is if the applicant wants something, they pay for it. If this is something that we need, that we feel it might be something in the future to defend, then we would have to do it. But so far, we haven't had any problems like that.
Okay, so that is the zoning board line. It's pretty small. Into planning, we have part of Sandy. Then we have the overtime for planning board meetings, which are a bit more numerous than zoning board meetings. Nothing in part-time. Equipment, I don't recall what this was for, but we've got it there. $150 for equipment in the planning board line.
Probably just a placeholder.
Okay, just, you know, spare $150 for whatever we may need.
A new whiteboard.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Contractual. This is another one that's in this bit of a mystery.
Yeah. That's what we talk about every year.
I know. There. $2,000 in contractual.
Well, we've never used it.
We've never used it, but it's fair.
You could
Well, this has
lower
been
it.
going down.
At least we've been decreasing the state budget line.
You could lower it. You know,
So that's not for
Well,
like general for like for battery or something like that?
You don't know what it's for.
For the tree-
Maybe you have to go on. You might have a situation that you might need outside services, like get some information. I guess that's what we're looking
That-
at.
We have that already.
Yeah, we have that elsewhere in the
Okay.
budget for when we have, when we, it's not on escrow. Yeah, that's
So-
elsewhere.
so the last 5 years, it's never. been used.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you do it all. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
Anybody.
planning- this is planning and
Oh,
development.
Okay. Don't take it out.
Let's take it out.
Exactly.
Do have two other. Further down, so.
Yeah. I know it's addressed. That's right. Okay. Okay. Publication of legal notices, printing and postage. office and supplies expenses for the planning department. This is where, yes, we did increase it a little bit last year because of the problem might have to, print materials or things like that, but we. It's over. Professional dues and meetings, this is for membership to the New York Planning Federation, the Westchester Municipal Federation. And any additional thing that. Planning board may. Same with conferences, yes, and then this is where, so the consulting services is where we have any anything that falls under non-escrow for Nelson Pope or Dan CRCO.
We limited to just those two.
And what about Steve?
Consultants, we can still use it on
We
something.
can use anybody, but it's so low, I mean, look, we haven't used that much. So it's allocated here as Nelson Pope and Dan CRCO, but yes, if we needed the wetlands consultant to come in, it would, all kind of fall. Yeah. Also not sure what this line is, but there's nothing there, so. We did also take out stenographer from this line because in the past it's been paid for by the app. And that is it. Very complicated budget that we building department.
We're efficient.
Very efficient.
Okay, and then I can't remember, I thought there's something new just came in for fee recommendation.
Well, that was the
That
back.
was back, okay. Perfect. Any questions for John or anybody else? Good. Good. This is gonna be really gonna be the last one. Everyone was
Maybe.
wondering.
I ask myself that question every week.
Thank you.
I'm afraid to
everyone.
say goodbye again.
Well, our judges were just here and they were talking about what great staff they have and how everybody's always complimenting them about what a great court we have and what great clerks. I'm sure you're really gonna say just the same about our building department, right?
I have a good crew. And a lot of the success comes from working with your crew. And they're very good. They're very even keeled.
Yes.
The public can come in like, everybody talks and work it out. I have a good crew and I'm blessed to have them. That's why we succeed. Succeed as a team,
Absolutely.
a whole team, I might add.
Absolutely.
So I will say again, it's been a great ride. Well, we'll see.
Figure it out.
Halloween, one of your favorites. Did you celebrate in style?
No, for me, it was quiet this year. I ended up, I had to go for surgery. So I wasn't able to do.
Okay. So. Of Holly's budget. Tax office budget. Holly is here presenting the budget for the department that she administers. Okay, so with our salaries at the top, we've got Holly with a 2% increase from 2022, just like the rest of our elected and appointed officials. Patty is part of the CSEA unit, so her salary is set by the contract. The overtime line, Holly has brought that down to 0. Her staff, when Patty does have to work extra hours, she prefers to take it as comp time. So we have not had to budget for overtime for a couple of years. We do budget for longevity because Patty has been with the town for a number of years, so she qualifies for longevity. Patty does not tend to avail herself of the sick pay incentive, so we don't have anything budgeted here. However, she is also among the employees that receives the health stipend. She's not on her health insurance, so we are budgeting for her health stipend. We also have budgeted here for a part-time intermediate clerk that we'll hopefully be hiring in the next couple of weeks in Holly's office. And so that was a position held by Angela, who has now since moved on to her real life career. But we have a great candidate who will bring on soon. In equipment, Holly did request with new PCs and monitors for her department, as well as 2 new scanners. So that is budgeted there. We did also,
What do you, like, what's 2, how do you do scanners?
The desktop scanners,
Okay,
and we do a lot by scanning that versus mailing, so.
makes sense. Okay, thanks.
And we did also, there was a piece of equipment that, that Holly needed to purchase that we decided to purchase in 2022 for a check scanner that needed to be replaced. So that's why it looks like a little high this year. When Holly presented it to us. It was a, relatively small amount. So we decided to, give her a purchase order to. move
It was
forward.
9 years old and
Yeah.
it's giving us a lot. I'm saying 9, but it might have been 11, and it's giving us a little trouble,
And it's a very necessary piece of
and
equipment.
it's hugely necessary.
Which one was it?
It's a check scanners.
No, it's for this year. It was for this
So
year.
you'll see
Okay.
in this year, we budgeted 1,200,
Yeah.
we've spent 46. That's
Okay.
because we just bought this check scanner. Holly had included it in her 2023 budget, but when we looked at it, we're like, why don't you just go ahead and get it this year since you need it so urgently? And, it was a relatively nominal cost. Okay, contractual services, have for, the municipal payments express pay. This is the online payment system, and Holly does go to her vendors to get prices for 2023. So that is the price that they've provided you for next year. Printing and postage, this is for the printing of the tax bills. So the fulfillment center, and then also the postage for the tax bills. Holly, for some of the foreclosures and other notices that need to be served, where property owners need to be served. Holly and Patty have actually been doing that themselves, so they're not using the town constable for those services. Okay, Siri wants to talk. So that is zeroed out, but we are obviously still paying for the printing of the tax bills, which is very important. Supplies, this is just, general office supplies. We did bring this down a tad into 2023, reflecting sort of current expenses. Maintenance, repair, office equipment and leases. These are the other pieces of equipment Holly uses in her office, the currency machine, the licenses for the check scanning machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to just either maybe hit the microphone off or hit mute right now? No, I'm sorry. I'm calling, but it's just like bouncing, this time is bouncing a little bit. So, okay. Yeah. Keep on.
So these are again, the check scanning machine, the currency counting machine. Those are licenses that we have to pay on an annual basis, as well as their copier and the Cummins machine. The professional dues and meetings, we did decrease that slightly, to again reflect sort of existing costs. Conferences, those did pick back up in 2022, and Holly attends the Association of Towns, the Satric meeting, and mileage and other expenses associated with those conferences, where she learns so much and makes so many nice friends. It represents the town very well. What are you on these days with Association of Towns?
I'm on the board of the Association of Towns, and I'm the second vice president of NASDAQ, which is the New York State Association of Massachusetts.
We don't think it in there.
So, good delegate for the town of Boston.
I was to recommend to participate in that way because you learn so much from colleagues elsewhere and you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Wait, hold on, I think I just lost internet. Hold on a second. My Zoom just freaked out.
Just yesterday, the screen was flashing on. It was missing.
Oh, we're back there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
We're there, but
But
Victoria's.
yeah.
not. Martha's here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. Okay. Just one moment, please. So yes, Holly's budget is very short unless my computer freaks out. Okay. Okay, there we go. So mileage, we did, that is applied in the conferences line, so that's another line that will slowly age its way out. Training, school and education, we don't have anything budgeted for that. Holly's been doing a lot of in-house trainings. She did attend an Association of Towns training this year. There was a virtual training, so that's what the $15 was for. Very costly.
Well worth it.
training.
Yeah.
Best $15.
Yeah.
No books for Holly. Holly survives without books.
All our scanners.
Yeah. The 21st century.
Like paper.
And then we head into the revenues, which is are the revenues for basically the whole budget. Holly, not really, but yeah, big one. The gain on sale of properties, that is, if we auction and sell a property, that's not something that we budget for as a revenue coming in, but if we ever did do that, it would be reflected here. We haven't had it happen in a number of years. Because people haven't been able to stay with their properties. Interest and penalties on taxes, we did increase that revenue line a little bit this year because Holly has consistently come in over budget. The charges, the tax advertising, so these are the fees that you charge when a property gets redeemed, correct? Yeah. When a property is better.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
also offset by any expenses related to the advertising that we have.
I think we did also talk about perhaps increasing that fee next year. Kind of offset some of our increased costs associated with the legal expenses and things like that with foreclosures. The fee that is charged when
It's $750 if it's a foreclosure fee that we charge if we actually go through the process and do the final judgment.
So are you saying we should be charging the
Should
budget? I
increase
mean,
it?
out?
Yeah, we're thinking perhaps we could increase it, it hadn't been increased a number of years, but. If we're seeing more expenses. It makes sense too, perhaps.
That's a lot.
Right, exactly. And then the memo bill, the admin
I
charges.
think that's just a reminder to pay your taxes on time.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I always say that.
Yeah. The memo bill admin charges, those are the fees that are paid by the tax search.
Right, and we also, we increased last year to $600 per tax service agency. We provide them with the files, that gives them the status of like all of our files of our bills. And for that, they pay us, the work from us $500, and they seem fine with us increasing to 600, having increasing.
And that is Holly's budget.
Just one question, Holly, merchant services, like we use some credit cards to pay, is there, I didn't see
There
that.
is 2.88%. It's part of, it's
But
not.
that's passed on to the
Yes,
pay.
you don't get it. It's 2.8%, and Express Pay, who's the vendor that we use to process, gets it. When taxpayers pay online, it's $1.50 if they use what's called an e-check, where they just give us the routing number and account number. But all of those fees are fees that Express Pay, yes, yeah.
So municipal payments and express pay is at $750.
That's what we pay Express Pay from
For service.
monitoring and
Just to be
supporting.
Much of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pipeline, right through to the
And
bank.
people pay cash when they come in for tax? Is that okay? Wow.
Very often, people do pay cash, and that's why our, we have this Cummins Allison machine that you've seen, integrated is used for two check processing. So, there's directly remote balance or checks, remotely deposit our checks, and also it's a cash counter, and it also detects counterfeit. Yeah, and we have one upstairs in the tax office, and we also have one now, what we call the satellite office. Which is the office down here, and we share it with the village. And I guess the clerk also uses it.
Which thing?
The cash counting machine.
They're accepting cash as my first.
Yeah, it's a really good thing because the tax, and people do pay
Is that Ireland?
in cash. People do pay in cash, and they're large amounts, particularly our school taxes are bond.
Okay.
Angela didn't get up.
That's okay, and that way, we give them a receipt as well. So that they have a receipt of the cash that they paid, it just makes it, if you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 in cash. you'd want to, I would want to receive
Yeah.
better pay in cash.
Absolutely.
That's a valuable.
And it quickly checks.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Holly, any other comments?
Well, just a quick view.
Okay.
Training is really important to me and the roles that I play on my SATRA and on the Association of Towns, I really feel have enabled me to do training within my office. And, I also find that we have something, it's so great to have a network. I think we all feel, we all have the networks around town. Westchester County is also, unusual from the rest of the state. So it's nice to have those associations within Westchester County as well. The satellite office that we have had now for, is it 2 years? I think 3. Habitate when we have to in January. So that's working out well. New recruits in my office. I think it require every environmental very important. Or I get phone calls and well, that is very helpful to have people who are finding well. And no other questions.
Good job. Very nice. Actually, I should ask where that's
That's in the attorney's budget.
Oh, it is, okay.
So it's not one that we necessarily go in depth with, but there's an account in both the general fund and unincorporated fund for attorney. So that's where our, that's where our civil works scientist goes,
And that's
Barb
what's-
Shonick and Holly, Christy is now doing the legal work associated with the tax foreclosures.
Right,
Right, and
but that also gets back.
conceptually, that's for $750 that we
Right.
charge the.
Right, I was gonna say, that we charging that back, okay.
That's technically.
Right, so that's where, so that.
So as we
that
increase
is-
our.
Yeah. So that's to increase that, because we would, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Thank you very, very, very much. Very efficient, as per usual.
You're very, very welcome.
Okay, I need that to you too also. Yes, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
There, thank you.
As always.
All right, we are back. And we are moving into our. Remember this, first budget.
Indeed.
Welcome, Mary of Florida. First Norman. Thank you for coming. And we're on Zoom, we're doing this on Zoom, it's recording. So,
Yes, the outside world can watch us and watch us after the fact.
yeah, is Greg going to be joining us?
I'm not sure.
Let's just let him know that we're.
I told her we were in.
Okay.
Okay, so we have at the top of the budget here, all of our salaries, which again are set by the Teamsters contract. We have known for a little bit of time that it might be helpful to have some additional staff. We did try to propose as part of this budget an additional parks groundskeeper starting salary. But ultimately decided that we could not swing it in this year's budget. So you'll see that what was proposed here has been removed in the tentative budget. We do have a proposal to promote, one of our parks groundskeepers, most likely Mark Gallagher, to the promotion, to the position of assistant park foreman. So he recently has reached top step in the parks groundskeeper salary, which brings him up to just under $86,000. The promotion would bring him up to $89,000. So the differential there would be, somewhat minimal and add some additional administrative and supervision support to Mario. We also took a close look for the past couple of years. We have been budgeting for half of both cemetery workers, Jose R. Castro and Jose J. Castro, in the parks budget. So half of their salaries and associated expenses were budgeted for in parks. The other half was budgeted for in the cemetery fund. excuse me, this year, we are, kind of reflected upon what the actual work being done and what made the most sense for the departments. And so we've attributed all of Jose R. Castro's salary to the military fund and kept half of Jose J. Castro in the parks budget. So we're kind of in the middle ground here.
Why does it look like their parks groundskeeper is still on there?
It's not, you see how there's a zero in this?
Oh, I see, sorry.
It was, and
I
then
see,
they took it out.
got it.
Okay. Then we have our, so again, the idea is it would be Mark, but for the Teamsters contract, we'll have to internally post for the position. Anyone in the unit can apply for the position, and then we can, evaluate the best candidate for the job, but that would be the process going forward. We have $40,000 in overtime. We are a little bit over that this year, but keeping it steady. We have longevity for Mario, Mark, this is his first year getting longevity. And then again, similar with the Jose's, to their salary, we have their longevity attributed, same way.
I just want to say, just back saying about the overtime coming, we do often go over and overtime, but by doing that, this is the compensation for not having another person. And we don't have another person, so we're using overtime, it saves us basically hiring somebody else, essentially. Still having our guys be able to do everything and continue projects, which otherwise we have to go out and hire a consultant. So combination, it ultimately saves us money.
And
also,
Well, missing it, that's from, right, X number of years ago.
but also when you think of a full-time person, it's, you're seeing this number here of $66,000. You have to think about benefits and everything, so the $40,000 in overtime, not only.
They're seasonal later.
I'm sorry.
Yes, also.
No, but I'm just explaining why overtime parks is always high. We have a very small department, we have a lot of parks, and adding another person, unfortunately, the general fund is the tightest of all of our budgets, which is, I still don't understand, of course, why all of our parks budget has to be in general fund and why none of it can be unincorporated, because obviously the village has a parks, both villages have their own parks funds, but the unincorporated doesn't, and the incorporated doesn't have its own parks fund. So the town has, general budget has to absorb the entire parks department, and that is our tightest budget. So it's hardest for us to add a position back in that has been removed.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk to you about why that is.
It's generally accepted accounting principles that a park is, town-wide government, general government service. For everybody, so that's why it's general.
So it's something that was,
Okay.
our auditors and association of town.
So if we're at 45 now, and we still have 2 months left in the year.
Yeah.
Right? And we're still budgeting for 40 for next year.
I haven't had to buy anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Well, that's
I
outside.
usually,
Okay.
the only time it
You're out.
branches off the parks is if we can't keep up during the storm. But usually it's work for highway, once you're done, then you go to the park, depending on how bad the storm.
So it gets
So
charged to the highway fund, their overtime, even though it's,
Oh, okay.
somebody is working, when we do payroll, it gets charged to. the-
Yeah, most of the time,
It's their job, okay.
Yeah.
the only time,
Specific department.
That's stuff.
No.
The only, I mean,
the only time it comes out of park budget is when we go to our park. But
but
sometimes
that's
we're
often
still,
during the day.
yeah, it depends,
Yeah.
it depends.
Next day or whatever.
Right.
Most of the time, it's
It's
just,
just a day that we,
Correct. Okay, and the other thing I would say about at the end of the busy season,
Yeah.
so in terms of overtime, it's not gonna be,
Right.
hopefully as much as we have been all summer long, going early, starting earlier.
Because the short guys, you know, come in early, so we're coming in at 5, which gave us, because it's light out, gave us time to shoot. The work on March, takes it an hour and a half, so every day, being back, art center, rain starting already, market fields. So by 7:30, 8 o'clock, we're able to start an actual job project or book up, start something. Meanwhile, if we didn't do that, sometimes it's like on Mondays, because Alvin's, he's off on Mondays because he's Saturday.
during summer.
So we don't come in Monday sometimes, it's hard to wake up after the weekend. So by the time we start actually working, Like, not that we're not working, doing it out, but when you start something, it's like almost lunchtime. So it just gives it a start, and then if we're doing that, we really aren't staying past the 30. Because we all have kids, sports, stuff like that, so it actually worked out. It's good. And it helps us to get stuff done. But then there's also the project, the
Constant.
events, the
That's right, yeah.
Earth Day, fireworks, concerts.
Because we have pavilions, all that stuff.
And in terms of the budgeting of it, I don't know, Dale, do you have an opinion about increasing it at all, but, you know,
Nope,
keeping it important.
I think, leave it, leave it alone on one.
Okay, that's gonna be a lot in the parks budget is. Leave all that one. Add a title, for when our employees, work, add a title, doing other things outside of their current jobs. Sick pay incentive for those employees who avail themselves of that.
Please do it again, I'm sorry, I was looking down.
That might
What?
change.
What did you do that already?
Yeah, this is.
Okay, sorry,
The out of title might change now, because if, say, Mark gets promoted,
correct,
I don't think she'll get
that's what I was.
MEO
wondering
pay anymore, it'll be,
Higher.
which he usually gets.
Yeah.
MEO.
So we'll see how it goes. In the first year. Sick pay incentive this year. Into the part-time line, so what we did instead of, this full-time employee as sort of like a middle ground. Was to propose, so we have a part-time laborer that has been working for the Parks Department for some time now. We included an additional part-time parks groundskeeper, $15 an hour. We have in the past hired seasonal employees. That's been a little challenging to do. It's kind of hard to find people who are interested in working at a short period of time. So we're thinking that this year it might be easier to do just a regular standard. And in the Parks and Highway, they work 40-hour work week, so a part-timer is 20 hours, because it's half time, basically. So for somebody to work 20 hours a week consistently throughout the year, instead of these chunks in the busy season, because we've had a hard time hiring people for those seasonal stints. So we're gonna try that out.
Starting.
Oh, so that person would do like the parties and stuff.
No, this would be somebody, it would be like another Larry,
Oh.
same sort of
It's
schedule.
just 8 hours per weekend.
That's in custodial, and then the part-time line right above it. See, there's a part-time labor.
Oh.
Yeah. You skipped, and then we have a part-time ability park attendant, so that's the person who shows up at the beginning, when there's a rental, and make sure that the area is cleaned and stuff, so that's a part-time availability. They only work when we need them to work, they're not working consistently throughout the year during the week or anything like that. So we did a calculation of, if they're working $15 an hour, approximately how many hours weekends, 30 weekends in a season, that's when we get to this number. As you can see, that season is already over, we spent $15. That should be good for us to rely. Yeah. For the equipment line, we still budgeted $3,000. We had spent 19 this year. I don't recall exactly what we purchased this year. I know we purchased a couple pieces of equipment as we went along, and I don't remember what we did this year. Last year was the Scarifier.
Oh,
This year,
the high pressure.
Last year was the what?
oh,
The Scarifier, one of the scare.
Field maintenance.
yeah,
Field maintenance machine for all the fields.
Okay, yeah, it's just like.
Scares me right out.
well, that,
Yeah.
Degrade the field.
yeah.
Great field, that's
Cheer factor.
it's basically just for the field.
All right.
Okay, so that's what we bought, yes, the hot water pressure washer. This year, so that was what the added expense was, but we just have budgeted 3,000 of that for sort of routine equipment needs. Big expected this year, that's all the capital plan. In telephone, Mario has a cell phone. We also pay for the Cedar Lane Art Center for phone and internet, and then we pay at Ryder Park for phone and internet, so that all comes out of that line. Electricity for all of the parks is there. Heat for all of the parks facilities. Unleaded fuel, which we did increase this year because of it's also their diesel. Because the price of fuel has gone up.
We're keeping the heat where it is because while some of the parks will go up, we're expecting to see it come down.
Yes, we did install an air source heat pump at.
Right, so I'm, heating
Yeah.
costs are going up across the board, but since we're expecting that one to come down, we're gonna keep it level.
Right.
Okay.
Sustainability. Okay, and materials and supplies, that's where we purchase the cleaning supplies out of. Uniforms, all of our employees have a uniform allowance and they get a new pair of boots every year. So we had budgeted for again, all of our existing employees, then sort of the half situation with the Jose's, you'll see there's still half of Jose Junior, not of Jose Senior. And then we had budgeted for, assuming if we were gonna hire a new employee, there would be their uniform allowance, their boot allowance. And then we also do purchase for all new employees a coat, a jacket for the first winter that they work in town.
But hey, great deals at Bob's Army Navy right now.
Yeah.
Flap down, look like, well,
Wow.
that's. so that's-
Yeah. Yeah. Was it?
Ranger.
Yeah,
that's-
we kind of talked about it, yes.
Just-
I don't know. It is a conversation to be had. Consulting services, that is where we have a little bit budgeted for. In the past, when we've applied for some grants, we've put those expenses there. So sometimes we have to hire like an engineer or some work to be done to prepare a grant application for one of the parks. This year, I think we also had the was it one of the, no, it's not food scraps, that's totally its own budget. Might have been just one of a tree, like the urban garden projects.
That's a.
Oh, you know what it was? Oh, no, we did. Oh, it was the, Nelson Pope, it was for the highway park sustainability study.
Yeah.
That's where it was. But yes, in the past, we've had like urban forestry grants, we've had to bring in Valerie to prepare like plans and stuff for grant applications, so we have some money budgeted in there for those opportunities. In-service training, which is all the safety training they just attended. Repairs to auto equipment, at 17, which repairs to vehicles. Water charges, we did increase that, because the cost of, some of our water bills have gotten higher.
So, water charges, we increased it to 35, but the actual charges this year were 55. So should we not be predicting 55 or more because it's going up?
Yeah.
Well, they also changed it depends on your hours of operation too.
We had a very hot summer.
Just someone's out of it, it's
Right.
8 hours. 3 people.
Yeah, I just don't know that that's gonna change. I expect it'll be hot again. Climate change, yeah. So we're gonna leave that.
Then we have a line just for the maintenance of ball fields. Which is there, $14,000, that's all the clay and the paint, and all that stuff that they order once a year. Repair and maintenance of park facility, we have currently there at 123,216, that's basically. Any money that we've got left in the general fund goes in that line.
That's for your salt and all that stuff. That's
Salt?
for- I mean, when you're treatment for snow and all that,
It's highway.
I don't know, they don't do it.
Not really.
It-
Are we
it-
thinking our
Just don't
equipment repair is gonna come down?
Yeah, what did you guys, you fixed it, well, we also have on order,
Well, yeah, 21's our last construction, I think, that got a lot of work done this year, but the bed now, we used a lot. One of our questions.
If we're budgeting $17,000, so we spent $35,000.
I don't remember where we are with that.
So how is that?
But it's already ordered.
bonded for it.
Did we order it?
I don't think we ordered
They
it.
wouldn't be- Yeah, they said now, it's not until fall.
But to be ordered?
Oh,
I don't think it's on order, but it's.
Yeah.
It's just waiting, I guess. the dealership.
I'm just wondering why we're at 17,000 when we've never been, and even in any of the earlier years, we've always been a few thousand higher. Repairs to the motor. Okay,
Why there are
19.
repairs or?
Now, why are we so low?
so low,
We have all
because
we had all new trucks.
we have all new trucks now?
Oh, we did.
Okay, but
like 2-3
the
years
lowest
old now.
year that we paid is 19,000 and we're only budgeting 17,000, so whereas this year we spent almost 35,000, so why would we only budget 17,000 for auto repairs? It's like us.
Well, like you're saying, there were some significant repairs to the vehicles that we're looking to phase out. So that's part of it.
There was, okay, something, that was the major $35,000.
Okay, where did you spend $35,000 on? This is
That's that.
Also, for a little while, we were including in there the lease for the Nissan. The Nissan lease was assigned to the Parks Department for a little bit of time, and that was taken back out to the building department. So, yeah, it was charged to that.
This year?
Not this year, but in previous years. Sure.
So the question remains is why are we still at 17,000 if we're not getting a new truck in this year? And I expect we'll have more repairs.
Yeah.
We are,
But we also had the equipment trailer. That's why, that's like 13,601.
this year.
So we're not,
So it's
I
not,
have another equipment show.
right,
All right,
Or would be,
so
but
that
that
brings
was
us much
also,
closer.
was that a
Right.
capital project?
All
No.
right, you're not getting another living trailer.
No, it's
You know that.
No, we're getting an electric, the whole our electric.
Budget or something.
I have.
Oh, yeah, you can shop, we can have one, the motor and like.
Yeah, not this
I
one.
don't know.
There was repairs to the Bobcat.
First spot.
Okay,
That was this year, I thought that was last year.
No, it's a shame. Excavator repairs.
Oh, yes,
You had a new
yes.
excavator,
Is there something?
No, it was the old excavator.
so now you have a new one.
Oh, wait.
But you will be getting
Okay.
that
But that.
this one will hold up until,
$80,000.
Oh, yeah, that was for something with the connect system, the seals were leaking. So.
all right, I'm just trying to understand if this is
No,
gonna
it's
be a
wear and
repeating
tear.
number.
No, it's wear and tear. Now, we had that excavator, what, 9 years ago?
That's good, all right, I mean,
Mhm.
moving forward, great.
It's not a lot of work.
I didn't know that. No, I don't remember how many years we had. We,
So we should
have
hopefully
generally
level
have to be a little bit creative with our.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I'll say. Creative people for our Parks Department, and we find. So if you haven't. We haven't been in a very good climate. That hasn't not worked well, right? I would say. So we're-
Okay.
we'll continue that way.
Magic about that. It's for a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so back to tree service, the reason why that increased so much was because of a typo. So, I had incorrectly entered $1,550 when I intended to enter $15,500. So that is why there was such a big jump, because that was an error. Capital, and yeah,
That's,
I'm on page 4.
we didn't go over that. did we?
No, you're not, you're at 13,000 now,
You know, if you were also do the tree guy,
is doing
does
the,
do woods and ivy and stuff like that, so.
The requested amount for 2023 is 50,550.
Probably. Ultimately, I think the boats get rid of stuff like more long term, you have to bring them back, and the big thing with that is, never get. That's what it costs money. So, yeah. But, yeah,
we'll just train your folks a little about.
did you see somebody with a boat recently, or like, what's further about?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
capital improvements expenses, that is a nothing. I'm not sure what the $460 was, or $236 in 2019, but there you go. Okay, and that is the parks operating. So, after lunch, we are gonna get into the capital projects. I mean, we can start working on the capital projects for a little bit. If we'd like, because parks is often the biggest portion, and I don't think we're expecting Bill Garrison. Everybody as well, but. Okay, so we'll pull that up. I know that. Yeah, does anybody want to print out of this?
No.
Yeah,
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Well, I can zoom in more because we can,
Yeah, just scroll.
26 and 27, there's not.
Anyway,
What? Well, there's not much
Oh, I
to
see.
say in 26 and 27,
Okay.
so
okay,
if we're closer to, I can only go one, no. 2023 and 2024 really are the ones to look at in more detail. Okay, we can start with the general stuff, so,
yeah, let's come back and. We'll put that on.
she's coming, go ahead.
I got it. I can look at.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start with the top. So the parks facility feasibility study, we had spent some money in 2022, as we just discussed, to start doing an analysis of our facility needs and where we may be able to potentially move our parks operations and or consolidate operations with the highway department. So we, that was led by Dr. Nostra and her from Nelson Voorhees. So we asked them for an estimate of what it would kind of take to the next step and, digging in a little deeper to that study. And so she recommended that the town spend about $30,000 in the next, for that next phase. So we have half split between parks and highway. So this is the highway portion. Parks portion, yes, thank you. We security cameras in parks, that's something that we've talked about for some time. We do have a grant through the Westchester County CDBG program for Wi-Fi at Lewis Angle Park, and that will also include some security cameras at Lewis Angle Park. So basically what we have, so there's nothing in 2023 because that's when we'll be doing Angle with the Wi-Fi project. But in every year or in the next 2 years, we have $20,000 budgeted for in 2024 and 2025. Mario and I did a tour around with the company that is doing the Wi-Fi in the Parks project to all of the other parks, and they recommended that basically Gerlach and Ryder parks are basically set up, so that, are serviceable for security cameras, because you need to connect them to some sort of internet connection. With at Cedar Lane, there's just really not sufficient cellular coverage for it, but at Ryder Park, we have internet already. And then at Gerlach Park, there's good enough cell coverage that you can actually have it run on a cell phone.
We have Cedar Lane. Cedar Lane has internet.
Cedar Lane only has internet at the art center, but it's not close enough. It wouldn't project far enough from that building. So we could put security cameras on the art center, but we couldn't, the signal wouldn't carry. Yeah.
Were you expecting to put the monitors? What?
We did meet also with the police department at some lieutenants of the police department participated in those meetings. And discussed that it would be, the way that these basically work is they're not on all the time. They only turn on when the cameras see something. So it would be something that they wouldn't necessarily need to continually monitor. They would get notifications if there was an issue. So presumably Mario would have access as well as the police department. And what else would be, recordings. Or we can also pre-program it to be the voice of the saying, don't litter, don't drive, I don't want to pick it.
And we are getting.
Turn off my sprinkler system.
Yeah, pavilion areas, you can watch the whole park, but the pavilion areas, we're doing a lot of even dumping dumpsters. Spray park would be nice to watch, there, and see borders on when it's not supposed to. Just to keep an eye on certain areas, the bathrooms, you know, a lot of vandalism with bathrooms. Not a bad idea. Obviously, it costs money.
We also have allocation here from our tree bank fund to consider tree plantings in the parks. So we put a little bit of money in each of the years coming out of the tree bank fund. Then we also have $10,000 for invasive species management, aka goats, for a potential grant funded project in the event that was available to us to apply for. Okay. Then the rest are organized by park. So in Cedar Lane Park, a project that has been of interest to the rec advisory board for some time is to basically construct like a sports complex or like a bubbled in area at the football field at Cedar Lane Park. There's a lot of communities around us that have facilities like that and are able to charge for, you know, leagues and stuff to use that, and they think it would be something that would be good for Cedar Lane. We have that allocated there for a potential grant funded project. You know, it's possible that some of the, you know, the state has grant programs for park improvements, so this may fit under a grant like that. So it's something to consider. We do have it put in 2024, but this is something that's been floated around for some time. Is there for future consideration?
How do we get for 500,000? Did we get some pricing, some?
That was a recommendation from Bill Garrison, so we, you know, it's also a rec superintendent to advise about how much that might cost. But again, if a grant opportunity came about, we'd have to look into it a lot more in detail. But that's been a suggestion that is. Also at Cedar Lane, a big project that we're looking to do next year would be grant funded with our ARPA funding, and this would be to disconnect the bathroom facilities at the park to the pump station on the Sunshine Home property. So that you'll see later on in the sewer fund is the work that actually is involved with sewer, but as a result of that, we're also going to need to consider what to do with the pavilion bathrooms. So we have some money allocated there. There's only bathrooms, and then also since we'll be in the area between the gardens and the courts, both courts at Cedar Lane, that would all be one project funded by our funding allocation, which we are able to use change in federal law for basically whatever community improvements we feel are necessary. It's with parks and infrastructure improvements. It's
So they like the restrictions.
they did. If you received less than $1 million or $10 million, or something like that, you could essentially apply it as like lost revenue down.
Up to 10 million.
Up to 10 million.
Yeah, we just communicated.
Yeah. So that's not for a nice project, Cedar Lane, but
Over 500,000.
Yeah.
And then we're getting the lost revenue for the court.
well, this is essentially what we'd be using.
Oh, okay.
Right, so lost revenue of the court is to the general fund,
Okay.
so it's all
Okay,
sort of the same thing. But we just don't have to do, there's a very specific calculation for the lost revenue. If they change the rules, set and receive under $10 million, just call it lost revenue to show on the full reason. So it's made it trade for small communities. Like it's not us. Then we also have for down to so that's the pavilion bathrooms rehab of the community garden rehab of the courts. That's also one project and it's noted spread. So part of it's not that. Then we have as number 5, light poles and LED lights up to the dog park. $4. The ice house restoration, we do have a grant from Senator Michael Melnick for to rehab the ice house facility. We're looking to fix the roof and also do some site improvements at the ice house. So that's $50,000 grant funding that we basically have in the bank. The greenhouse restoration is another project that is sort of on all of our wish lists. If a grant does come available, that would fit it. So we have $100,000 listed in 2024. We did have an architect go out and take a look at it a couple of years ago, and that's approximately what they said it would cost to do so. But again, if this is not a grant that we've gotten already, it's not a final quote or anything like that.
So tell me
Something we have to evaluate in the future.
So then under 2023, that's grant money we have received.
That is grant money we have received. So that's the ARPA money we have our application. We have to encumber it by 2024.
Spend by
But hopefully we'll be able to move forward that project sooner rather than later. Excuse me, then Mario has proposed at Cedar Lane, Gerlach, and Ryder Park too, I think, to enclose the dumpsters to prevent illegal dumping and some of the issues that we've seen. So in each of the parks, you'll see the proposal for what Mario estimates those projects would cost in each of the parks. For Cedar Lane, it approximates $2,000 to do that.
So we're talking one of those slab with the fence around it and then,
The waterfront, by the. Orange, we did the slab and then the fence company did the fence with slats. You don't see it,
Actually, suburban paper.
Yeah.
Suburban paper there, but
but also now come to the point too where we're blocking. Working something out with suburban, but they have access to.
do they pick up in all of our parks?
Do you think it'd be a good idea to allocate some money for that sports complex for like drawings and get something on paper to see? Because if you go for a grant, don't we have to have something prepared, like a ready project to go? So
yeah,
I would
love that
recommend like
idea.
a $10,000-$20,000 towards that, just to get some drawings or some consultants to come in to have a better idea, so that if the grant does come available, we're prepared. And
I think this is more of a pie in the sky, big picture. I don't know that we're at that point. At that point.
Well, so again, the capital plan, the capital plan is often, not money that's been appropriated in the operating budget. So when we're noting here, general fund, you're not going to find a corresponding line in the operating budget we just went through. It's that when that opportunity comes up and Mario wants to move forward with those projects, we would come to the board with a capital project resolution, which Dale would propose how that project's going to get funded. Is it funded by fund balance or by debt financing or grant funding? So this is a plan. It's sometimes it's looking for opportunities, looking for grant opportunities. So I think it would be a good idea to note that that's something that we'd like to move forward with. And if we find that opportunity comes up, then we can consider allocating that money. We're not putting this is not like etched in stone that this is something we're definitely going to spend. It's just noting that for a project of that size, likely the year prior, you'd have to spend, $10,000 to $20,000 on plans to adequately prepare for a grant application.
Which I mean, I think that's what
Okay, right.
Could theoretically.
Yeah, so I can note, and another line that says general fund of, $20,000. Then if that comes up, get a proposal for it, and so pay for the actual months. Okay. Yeah. Okay, into Gerlach. So that now that the fencing is complete at Ryder Park, essentially, almost complete, turning to the fields at Gerlach. So project we have been hoping to do for some time are to upgrade the field lights to LED at Gerlach. We have had some issues with the lighting system in recent months, so it really seems like now is the time to bite the bullet on that and get that project going, especially in conjunction with redoing the fencing like we did at Ryder. So sort of the big debt financing project that we noted in the Parks Department for next year would be for the field lights and the fencing ball field. So in the new year, when we're starting to look at the projects that we might want to go out to bond for, this is something where we get finalized quotes and consider. Yes.
Still waiting for a price.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That was last year.
Yeah, it's like,
Talking to the rep, that part of
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we would know. So, but yes, you'd want to have real quotes in hand, at that time, but that's sort of the big project in the Parks Department. for next
I
year.
mean, I'd also want to look at, keeping it in as best we can with the dark skies background. And not having it just,
Yeah, no, well, the
Like-
new LED lights, I know, like people were.
are they more
Rider,
directional?
They're like, they focus and.
Okay.
You don't see.
So.
Right, well, that's what I'm talking about, dark skies and, less light pollution, you absolutely light the places that need to be lit. But it doesn't end up looking like, where, it's just a
Right.
glowing thing and,
And it's a lot less lights too.
right, so that means what? When we do lighting, just keep in mind that we want to keep contained what we want to let it die a lot.
And then for the concrete slab around the dumpster at Gerlach, Mara estimated how much that. Mary also proposed sprinkler systems in all of our the fields. So priority would be Gerlach because you're then doing all these other field improvements. So that's why there's $50,000 and noted in 2023. You'll see it's other parks we've noted in future years. So that's high priority. Then we are looking to get a grant from Senator Harkin's office for a new playground at Gerlach Park. So that is essentially funding that, that allocates the town for that.
The girl that got new equipment, like the new swings and stuff, yeah.
New swings, but this would be for the playground.
Yeah.
The playground is, it's old.
Yeah.
We had hoped to do that a couple years ago, but COVID up. Okay, now looking to Ryder Park. So I think this is going to be a topic of discussion for the board and perhaps something that we need to bring back to the rec advisory board. At Ryder Park, we did restore the upper tennis courts, but the lower tennis courts that are now being used as basketball court.
And now they're locked.
Now they're locked.
So they just store. Repair. Yeah. Works.
Yeah.
So they'll recommend a lot of recognize course at block.
So something that we discussed when we reviewed this on a department level a couple months ago was, it's, as you can see, it's fairly costly to fix the retaining wall and also to install new tennis courts. There are opportunities for grants with USTA, but they are fairly restrictive and they're not very high in their awards. So something that was discussed was that perhaps the Parks Department demolish that court next year. And then part of sort of this larger drainage study, which we have noted on here, we applied for a grant for Ryder Park to evaluate the drainage needs at Ryder Park, that perhaps that could be, instead of putting a court there or another like hardscaped, recreation space, it could be like a, wetlands garden or something to that effect to help improve the drainage, and be less costly to the town as opposed to constructing a whole new court. So right now I have noted in here the work that we anticipated. If we were to restore it, if we're gonna demolish it, that's not really a capital project. Knocking something down isn't really a capital improvement. So if the board thinks that we should go in the direction of perhaps knocking it down, we might take it out of the capital plan, or if this is something that we'd like to kind of kick around and discuss with the rec advisory board. That's sort of the big question at Ryder Park is what to be done with the lower tennis.
How many tennis courts are at Ryder now?
Two.
In
There's-
total? Two.
There's
Just two.
2 tennis courts and 3 got
And the
there
lower,
are 2 lower courts on the lower end. Well,
and no one really uses them.
well, they
It's unsafe.
Or, well, before.
When I first started here, those courts were heavily used. Now the upper ones, they're getting used pretty much every day, tennis and pickleball.
I think the schools use them for.
Yes.
Yes.
The thing is now, because they were in such rough shape years before it became a foreman, they put batting cages on the back part of the lower ones.
It was actually, there's a cut, right? There's like a actual cut.
Uses. And then the basketball court down there by the pavilion, the problem that we're having with the pavilion. is people were kicking people out playing basketball because I rented it, why you coming up here for basketball? So we finally finished the gaming area there. We moved the basketball court down So the tennis courts won't be patchwork, whatever, seal it. But now it's just, there's just so much water, that it's not worth fixing.
It's a very wet area underneath, and no matter what they've tried to do, it continues to.
then, yeah, then we should
deteriorate.
just look-
It should
if you
just
were
get
to look at
rid-
the-
it should Be gone, and reimagine.
When they built it,
It'll never,
So that's why it's so high. The other one, there's like 3 foot difference.
Yeah,
Just
it'll
like-
never,
Then it'll always be in district.
yeah, it needs to be reimagined.
Okay.
But the thing is, so retaining wall. And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
the batting cage, I don't know what to do about batting.
That's what I think is the bigger problem. is
There's,
that's-
there won't be that
there's no
something
fence.
right apart.
Unless you put it back up,
And it's really-
just deal with it.
Is there anything we could do in the parking lot,
I think the
Somehow,
top parking.
like in the top parking lot?
After
where it could
there's
be
gonna
That's how
be-
you are.
like. Well, or it could be like basketball court unless there's like a really crowded game or something like that, where it could be also space to park on if it gets really crowded up there.
I think we should.
There's space for it, but like with.
There you go. That works.
It's all our equipment's up, our trucks, all our material, like all that stuff was out there, you actually had a parking lot. I can see putting one in the corner, but as of right now, it's basically parking lot / our yard.
It's a little closer to the homes there too.
Mhm.
A little
Yeah,
Closer to
it's
the
to the
homes.
homes.
Well, a lot of people walk there, so they enter, have a trailer.
They're running trucks and stuff over there, so it's,
Second, we haven't gotten a lot of stuff. So I heard that that's.
It's a wood, it's a wood bracket, right? And the ball.
Yeah,
It's
but
wood
it's
area.
It's like a.
It's a tennis.
You
Yeah,
hear
but
that?
around, I
The
just
gun
see
shops are
that.
high. The fence company told us that they say that.
Well, yeah, but.
We'll just check to make sure we're still here when you.
Yes, we are.
I think the drainage study is gonna really dictate how that goes, gonna go.
Yeah. I mean, I almost think we should do the drainage study before we start tearing it all
Yeah.
up.
Well, there's a lot of, and I think. Green was, you could walk with some guys, I forget the name. But you don't realize how much water comes to Ryder Park. There's a lot of water. that comes to Ryder Park.
But with the study, you might be able, they might be able to make that area dry and further work someplace else and bring it.
Well,
Keep everything existing there,
Exactly, that's, look at it again.
but the drainage.
No, I do think that was like Paul Fairley had said, if you have an existing use already, it's easier to keep that existing use than to get rid of, than to start from scratch again. So I kind of agree with you, Angela, that it will be better to do the drainage study before we demolish the fort. The only thing is that I do think we have to maintain that to a certain extent, like you can't just let get overgrown and tolerable. You have to, it looks like, broken.
Well, no, we went in, or it's bringing in blacktop.
I'm not talking about, no, I'm just saying, just like.
Yeah, you put it every now and now, we're doing it. But yes,
I'm
I'm
just
saying,
saying,
because a
you
lot
need
of
to
pizza looks.
Gotta
right.
keep, you gotta go in there and do whatever,
Once-
just take care of it, because you can't leave it. It looks bad.
Okay. So, I guess we can just take out the lower tennis courts line item.
Yeah.
But with the intention that, the list of projects is not to do the demolitions.
I mean, yeah, should we take off lower tennis courts, but I would move the lower tennis courts, just move it to have a year 2024, 2025, right, like that. But leave the retaining wall, because the retaining wall is forever,
Right.
right?
Well, it's gonna hold it right. You
That's
can't
gonna hold
just
up,
take it out.
yeah,
It's needing.
Right.
So that you're.
The upper court is
Because I already feel like it's looking like. See it already work. Doesn't.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not- it looks great. Once you're out there, you'll see, in a couple of years, you're probably gonna have to see something else.
I feel like.
It's not all
I see like all these.
imperfections, there's artifacts, and unless you get a company
I
that
never
comes.
did like that right when you did it though.
No, it did. What was it? It wasn't, it's not as bad. You need. Brown
It's like in
budget.
the lines and everything. I don't know.
Did we go out to get a price from a contractor for the
Oh,
10-story retaining wall, or you were gonna do it?
No,
No, we actually got a price, USTA gave us a price. the problem with USDA is they'll only do. Tennis courts, like, we couldn't do pickleball.
Couldn't play basketball on it, but
It would have to be dedicated to sports. And I think it was like 150,000 or something like that, to redo it the fancy way, was that what it was?
Yeah, that was like.
And I think it was like, they'll give us like 20.
Yeah, we're getting like 15,000,
It wasn't much,
which
but,
is like not even enough to play.
yeah,
so.
and that was without the drainage, so, you know, it's not like we couldn't pursue it again, because we could, but. I think we'd we'd have to probably get a grant from somebody else, you know, to do it, which we could theoretically. That was tough to us. That was the most important thing, you know.
I don't know, it's constant, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay, then we have new bleachers, which I think is a number from Bill. I don't know if we need to confirm that, Mary, or if the bleachers is 72,000.
Well, that was the one I got that from. Contract pricing from where we get our, all our baseball stuff.
Mhm.
But that was ADA compliant
Mhm.
bleachers, which Bill said if you don't have pathways to your bleachers. You're not ADA compliant
Anyway, yeah,
so I don't know,
so just get ready to.
get them, make it.
but they're expensive, they're not.
Regular bleachers? Well, they're more expensive than
They're-
the ADA
I-
accessible.
Um. $6,000-8,000 a piece.
They have to be put on slabs also.
We're doing slabs on the fields now. Well, Girl Like already has them. She moved this fence to the wall.
You took the slabs back out?
It's not good. We're waiting to get in bleachers.
Oh, I thought you said you put the slab, like, why did you do that?
No, but now the bench and middle, field, that was years ago. We had time. For spring.
ADA features, they would have to have the concrete pathway. To the,
Not so much concrete, it should be an asphalt path to save from the parking lot. You'd have to have a path, it doesn't have to be necessarily asphalt as long as ADA compliant material. You need a path. Yeah, that's the other thing about. I think.
Adding concrete.
No, or a drainage study, I'd rather get the drainage study done before we start
because that's,
building anything.
that's gonna deter more water, where it's gonna go and put more.
Right, so I want to get the drainage study done and understand, you know, before we get the. Before we start adding pathways on.
That's only if you get the ADA, that's only if you get the ADA. Right?
Right,
You have-
I'm just saying, don't order the,
Yeah, don't order bleachers until we get the study done. Know how it is.
Yeah, we'll probably find out if we got the grant before the end of this year.
okay, so then we can figure out.
Okay,
But for, I mean, leave it for now as you have it.
okay, then for the playground, that is a grant that we have received from Senator Michael Milnick, so. Again, $100,000 already in the bank for us. The drainage study is this grant that we're hopefully gonna receive word on relatively soon. And then we have noted, you know, in the next year, some of those drainage improvements that would ultimately come out of that grant. We have the caretaker's cottage. I don't know if you want to talk at all about that, Mario.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I mean, it's.
Well, we've got some prices now, right?
Well, that's the thing, all right, nothing's ever been done. You can't open up windows.
We don't
It's
think
just,
nothing's ever been.
Cause we spent a lot.
Before we started doing stuff.
Oh,
it's- yes,
Okay, well,
we
we've
did-
done,
yeah, this past winter, we went in. And we did the bedroom and the hallway,
And the year before you did the
The
kitchen and
kitchen.
that,
and we supported the whole
basement.
basement, insulated, the house wasn't insulated.
so we've halfway view.
So the whole-
Yes, we have two
our
more,
whole idea is just to stagger it, so that we don't have to basically do a huge project, and we can do a little at a time.
right, the inside was built, so
That's-
this winter we could hopefully
Right.
do the other two rooms, insulate, nothing crazy, new sheet rock, new flooring. We did the hallway and the bedroom, I think, for like $3,000-4,000 in material. Last winter. The more money that needs to be spent is on the outside, new windows. Inside, if we want to keep it looking. For now, it's in the middle of the park. It's, I don't know, at this point, what do you do?
I don't know, I haven't taken a close look at it.
All of
Also-
the legacy buildings would be less, just get rid of them. Take it down.
What happens when Larry,
President Penn,
Larry's president,
caretaker's not there.
caretaker, right? it's- if he's
And it
not
has to
there,
be
it's
so
just,
slow, the only person that we can. Living there, so and we're
I don't know what
yeah,
the arrangement was when it was done, but.
correct, but that's.
But the person also, like, there's an eye on the bar, he locks up, he puts the bathroom, sets up. Rentals for
Yeah.
even seasons. It's constantly taking people out, like, now there's something at Ryder Park, or this. Those kids up there, so he walks up there, he doesn't call the cops, deal about it, but.
He goes,
Right,
what do you do?
right, but it's there when, plus all our equipment is there, like, he's caught people on our equipment, around our equipment, he goes up, what are you doing, truck goes up, you never know. I mean, we block our trailers and try to do the best we can.
You have hitch locks on them, obviously. You have hitch locks on them. Okay, get hitch locks.
We use our trucks,
Okay,
either we're connected to it or our trucks are blocked, you're not holding the trailer.
okay.
Well, we just have to keep up the code and keep having a plan every year, like you said. Allocate a little bit of couple
So,
dollars every
You
time.
wanna do windows this year?
It was windows, I just got the pricing, windows and siding, because it's like the back wall. Get all the rot and stuff, it's still high that paper, it's been like that. It's a little bit siding, the roof they said was still good, what's. Minor chimney repairs that we do. So basically it's the porch and the siding. And we would do the rest of the two rooms and back.
We also have a TBD, we're waiting for some feedback from ABT on the upgrading the electrical at Ryder Park, and this would kind of tie into sort of this ongoing effort to electrify our fleet of lawn equipment.
Right, so
Then we have tying the restroom to sewer main, which is a project we kind of keep kicking out, because it's not a huge priority, so it's there. New fence guards, which is due to new fencing that was put in.
that is not included in the fencing.
Spot, you might, I don't know if we're gonna need it. There's all our fields, they had the yellow plastic stuff. about it,
Yeah.
but With the padding, you might not, it's more for a kid, they're gonna catch black hole, the fence to protect them. The middle. I'll see what. Maybe some of the.
That's fine.
The 40 squares, yeah, PCOS. They said that they think we, I mean, I don't think so, but.
Well, yeah, that's something that, we talked about, they'd like to do advertising about,
But you can do that on the path.
that's what,
Right.
that's why, so the person buys the whole pad. Then
Right.
comes with fence guard. Comes with the top, it should come with it, we shouldn't
Oh, I
say it with that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
when you buy the pad.
Yeah.
Tell them to buy the top two, they start a section, like all the money, like that.
Good, I like that.
I did ask a question about, that's funny, because I just asked. Brooks, can we do advertising or?
But at the end, beginning stage for correct, by the way.
or no? We don't.
I mean, that would be a question for the parents. I mean, I would do the best.
You do it at best, we see that.
Yeah, but that's,
there.
we should just find out.
Yeah. I don't see this.
Maybe just
Status
make-
page.
It's like JCYS would probably do that. Do it. JCYS, municipal, we can't, municipalities can solicit sponsors.
No, not that was sponsored, just. Wow.
Well, then.
Right.
Okay, and then for the Ryder Park concrete slab around the dumpsters, we have $15,000. And the sprinkler system at Ryder, we have pushed out a year again, thinking about the drainage study and how that. would- Okay, it is just 12:30, so we'll take a break and then continue along with the annual part. So if there may be a motion to adjourn.
So what time are we gonna come back to at 1:30? At 1:30, paper, you get to get 1 hour break. Yeah. before 8 o'clock.
for the rest of the park projects. Yeah, we're gonna continue with parks capital projects, move it to highway and cemetery,
So you don't think we should just finish? Rest of the day?
So no.
Okay.
Thank you.
So much for our two of parks and then we'll do cemetery. Highway, we're moving the capital projects. Pete Conley, our highway superintendent, has joined us. And we'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay. We went through Ryder Park and now we're moving on to Engle Park. So at Engle Park, we have, a couple of projects that we've received, CDBG grant funding for to relocate the bathrooms. It's a phased project. So the first phase will, hopefully happen in 2023 and the second phase will happen in 2024. And the idea is that kind of straddles the years so it doesn't impact the actual use season of the park, but fingers crossed. We also have projected out in 2025, 2 grant applications that we had put in for, with CDBG. We were not awarded, but we're hoping that, we can complete our case a little bit for, to install a smaller bathroom facility at the north end of the park, since we're going to be relocating the bathrooms down toward the beach to have a smaller bathroom facility, so closer to the performance area stuff. And then also to rehabilitate the fishing piers. Then we have our DRI for the performance space. We are fingers crossed hoping for $600,000 in DRI funding, which the town would have to match 1-to-1. So that is noted there.
I will say that the fishing piers are part of the CAD design.
Right.
And again, it says. Oh, it does say grant funding for half of that. Okay, yeah,
I mean, we can take it out.
potentially. No, I think potentially we would.
Yeah,
get
in
grant
future
funding,
years, so
yeah,
we can also see
exactly.
what comes out of CAD.
Yeah, I just saw the debt finance, but yeah.
And I think we'll get some budget estimates on some of those projects too, so I'm gonna start thinking. Update feature fixtures at Spray Park remains the TBD. To get prices for.
There's something wrong with it, or they just want to add old.
Get a price for that before we file that budget. And then we have sprinkler system at Engle Park, which Miriam does recommend in this year because we also have to dry that area of the park got during this summer. Then to replace the ash bins at the grilling areas and Wi-Fi, which is a great project that we will get underway in the not too distant future. At Buck Johnson Park, there is a major project that we could be looking at in 2023, but we have not been able to develop budget numbers for that project yet. So that's something that can be revisited at some point in time. Into the equipment. Mario, do you want to talk about the flail mower and the utility vehicles? And what they are and what you use them for and why you.
Well, right now, the flail mower acts as a. It is like a brush hog, our brush hog now, it's on back in 60 tractor. That we have a lot of problems. Actually, that was actually probably some repairs that came out. But it was down more than the run this year. And finally got it running for the third or fourth time. Back up the hill behind the harder field. So the flail mower is attachment on the excavator there. Now, the first time we had cut in the back, because in the back of the tractor. So putting on the excavator, say in Dustin's Trail or anywhere on parks, you can actually reach out and cut with the arm of the excavator.
So is this like you see on the highways when they have the one going along?
It's small on a smaller scale, it's not as big as that. but it wouldn't be on a tractor, it'd be on the rest of it. It's tracks and it's a long arm.
Yeah.
Not. The utility vehicle. It would be to replace the tractor and our gator. The thing with this utility vehicle, especially decide the switch to electric with our skid steer. By doing that. Steer attachments, they don't make electric attachments yet for the skid steer. So saying that this utility vehicle will be able to use the attachments we have now for our skid steer.
Okay. So basically, placing that famed 1960 tractor. For the phasing the electrical equipment, we have $10,000, but $10,000 noted in 2023. That's grant funding that we've already received to help sort of plan for how we're going to transition to electric equipment. Then we have $100,000 under another grant, so that we can actually use to purchase the equipment. So we're gonna have that noted in 2024, but I don't think there's any reason why if the town is well positioned to move forward with purchasing some of the electric equipment in 2023. We will have to do it. And then Mary, I want to talk about the other pieces of equipment that we've deemed less of a priority and put out to next year. The sawmill, the track buggy, the seal machine and crack filler.
Yeah, portable saw. If we're gonna be. Stuff obviously started this year, the chainsaw. Yeah, it works, it's great, but it takes a lot of time. I know the costs, the car. Beds this year. It's fine. It's fine, honestly, let's go. So instead of. Cut down, let it go in storage. Yeah. I'll be. It's like. Getting lumber out of it.
Can you use the ones that wash up in the beach too?
What we had, but it's just to speed up. We're maybe wood, as with a song, we could actually make the lumber.
Even, I like it.
Have you seen the raised beds at Bethany?
But the.
Arts, no, the old.
Have I been in? Haven't been there since.
I'm gonna send you pictures, so I took pictures the other day, and they did all raised beds with all lumber that looks like it's from the design.
And we also.
And I don't know if they have the same tools, so I'm just.
But we did it with chainsaw, but we're making, we made it 3 inches thick. And I don't even, depending on how long I have to treat after the tree, some of them for 16 people.
Yeah.
But it just takes time.
Can you
It's not
also-
bad for chainsaw.
So, all right, so you had, it would take less time.
Basically, and just be able to make wood faster or lumber.
Can you rent that piece of equipment?
I don't know. I'll ask. There's something, all right, it's not.
Right, it's something we use all the time.
Day, correct,
Yeah.
correct. So I'm gonna, like, now we rent the boogie for the month. So that's.
Boogie?
Normally you use that, I don't, someone.
Yeah, sorry.
Before the track boogie, the concrete boogie, Pete actually saw it the first time in the cemetery, saying that hill is kind of dangerous with the bobcat going up the concrete. So basically, it's a track machine that carry. The garden half, yards of concrete, big gravel, topsoil. It's just a portable machine, especially in the cemetery, in between the grave and stuff, and we do use it a lot. It's more like for projects.
We had also the other little machine. that-
Or we just rent.
Right.
Correct.
Is there another machine specifically we're getting to?
The utility vehicle that we
Yeah,
bought
that-
for the cemetery this year.
But you don't put concrete in that, that's when you're pouring concrete, you don't put that as a back. But also.
Yes, sir.
Having a machine like that, especially for cemetery, it's less wear and tear on the utility. Which I don't know if they're gonna be using the utility, but whenever they're scooping dirt out of the grave, they usually put 2 big buckets in the back of the utility vehicle. This thing could hold like 3 or 4 buckets, but like you said, it's less wear and tear. Seal machine, we actually. Did some minor repairs to our seal machine this year. I know didn't get the attachment, we put an actual electric motor on it, seemed to work. All we were able to seal. Right, seal for electric. And or storage seal, so we could use it all, so we actually the lower parking lot for the ball field area. But I really don't think we have to. Down the road to buy. We can have a nice whole material, but at the end of the day, if our work.
So we should
it's
cross
something
that out.
we're doing every day, every year.
Okay.
The craft machine, power department does have one, or. One thing we get like once a year, it's like a year. So, see master they back in the week. So I don't think we really need to.
So should we take out those three?
I think so, because what we did.
Those three
It
items?
seems to me it works.
So take out the sawmill, the boogie. You can
Say
keep
the
that.
seal machine and cracker.
Okay, so they're just the.
This is number 7.
No, the others, I mean,
Yeah, no.
I'll check if they rent. The sawmill, I doubt it, because that's more like a blade, whenever there's a blade involved, I think it's hard to rent, but I'll check. With the boogie, I mean. That's something, right? Boogie. Say boogie. No bug,
It's spelled differently.
no bug.
Wrong pronunciation.
Boogie is a dance
The
floor.
tiny way of saying boogie, the boogie. Yeah, that, I mean. If it's a joint thing, like even the highway, I'm sure would be able to use it, like I said, it's really just a whole material. It's. The cemetery, I believe, I mean, us too, usually not, but the cemetery will get a lot of use out of it. I really do, especially on that hill. And the way, they graze on the hill. It won't, it's less likely to say, you go one day, work up on that hill, the way it's loaded, drive sideways, so. Okay, right,
Oh, yeah, Bobcat.
the Bobcat, that was something, just looking for the electric that I did. I was gonna, try to trade ours and get, skids instead of tires. But it's better for grading and less wear and tear on the wheels. But then speaking to Bobcat recently after the excavator, they are coming out with, all electric skid steer this spring. So
Let's look at that.
that, right, look at that, but like you said, they're not making any patents, they're not there yet, so the only thing you'll have is buckets. So like all our attachments, stuff, the grapple, the auger. So. But you have utility, yeah, but add the utility vehicle. It's kind of, still keep those attachments. Eventually, I'm assuming. They will come out with electric ones, but it's gonna be neat.
Is the Parks Department. Woohoo.
I'm gonna believe.
Okay, now looking at the cemetery. We have a couple of the main projects at the cemetery for 2023, continuation of monument repairs at Oakdale and Sparta cemeteries. Then replacing 6 windows on the cottage in 2024 and a new flagpole in 2025. So Pete, I don't know if you want to talk about any of those, but given most are in future years.
Well, the monument repairs, that's been ongoing and, to keep it the right way, that's gonna be probably another 4 or 5 years. So, this year we concentrated on Sparta. So, I hope to go back to Sparta again next year with that. The 6 windows, they're on the ground floor. We didn't get to them, with the cottage rehab. And, 24. And just, we have an old iron flagpole kind of getting beat up and, I talked to Mario about it. The path is, doesn't look that great either for the flagpole. So like, I stamp concrete like we did going to the cottage. Was it this year? No, it's bigger, thick. So, those are those 3 right there. Yeah. The, of course, the, utility we got this year. So pretty good shape. Yeah.
That was easy. Yeah.
You think it's those, are you looking at it? No, they have storm winter, yeah, and,
Wait
know,
up on for it.
yeah, I mean. The buyback, call it, you know, it's gonna take a little time, but they're a little sheet rock around, it's gonna be a tough to put. No, it definitely.
Moving right along to sewer. So we have a continuation of our sewer lift station bubbler project, which we discussed a little bit in the board meeting actually this week. How that's been saving us on the cleaning costs. We'd also like to pursue a SCADA system for the lift stations, which we do also have noted for grant funding. This was another project that we thought perhaps, you know, depending on how things go at Cedar Lane, that could be used for our ARPA funding because it's related to sewer infrastructure, so kind of in line with what they're looking for. The map of the sanitary sewer system is a project we keep throwing out to as far as what is possible every year, so that's what that is.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the county to come in.
Yeah.
Save us on that, right?
And then the sewer lane, the pump station disconnect that we discussed earlier with parks. This is the actual sewer part of that project
Right.
in sewer.
Yeah. So the bubblers, like you just mentioned, kind of paying for themselves. Like to put in 3 or 4 more, that should cover it with that amount. The SCADA, that's, you know, I mean, we're being monitored and it works very well right now. That could be pushed back to maybe the county. Same with number 3, the mapping and the Cedar Lane pump. You know, I think we all want to get off of that, go on our own. So that's that I'd like to see this year. Yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the grant? No, ARPA. It's ARPA. Yeah.
Okay, into highway. We have our annual CHIPS funding, which I think is still. I'll just double check that what was the latest. But a little higher. So should we increase that or? Okay. Yeah, it'll be whatever. she has to do. Okay. Yeah.
We did get some money though.
Okay.
Stadium, you did that. Yeah, we don't have much. That's there, basically, right? Does that take up for 2 years?
We sent the letter.
I thought it was all gone.
No, we still have money.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
We left us.
yeah, exactly. That's it. Arda, please.
Up one.
Yeah. Sidewalks, we got to. We have 3 projects. We got stuff.
We have 71,000.
71,000.
Yeah. But our proper amount is 47 miles.
Or somebody, yes. Okay, well, so we've got more CHIPS funding, but we're gonna leave it the same.
You can carry it over.
Yeah, how long is this money good for?
I don't think they've ever
What's out?
cut it off, you know, there's one point that they said whatever, but we've carried over for at least 6 years.
Yeah, I think so.
For the last one.
Yeah.
That was big, that was like 107.
Good. They didn't do that because of COVID or anything, they did that because.
It's a bigger
practice.
Yeah.
then we have the, so you'll see that in every year we have allocated $200,000 for street repaving. We'll get to the specific projects that we're looking at, which that's why it's fair, we have the specific project listed. But then we also have the highway facility thing project, which we've pushed out to 2024 as we continue to evaluate our roofing needs, and Pete has gotten a temporary fix on.
Yeah, just 2 weeks ago over the mechanics garage. I don't think we got any bids, right? We didn't get any bids in August, the end of August.
Right.
So talking with Russ Watsky and Andy Tees, that's the way that it's going out there now. So we should bid maybe next March, April. So I guess the 55,000 is just for the mechanics garage. Like Victoria said, it has been patched. The whole project, according to Russ, was 280. So, but now we're a year behind on that, the original garage and the trailer. So I don't know if you want to move something back for next year. We didn't do anything, now we're behind another year, but
To move back the schedule
yeah,
to starting in
Well-
2023.
I'd like to see, gotta find that, no, but the trailer looks bad from the gas station when you come down the hill over there. And it's all rusted. Actually, the original garage is the best roof. That's, from 1930, so the way they did it.
They don't make them as they used to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe if we can combine those two, you get the mechanics garage done and the trailer next year. Would be fun.
Trailer, part of the budget.
20, yeah,
I think money is the trend.
180,
Yes, 50, I think 55.5.
Yeah.
The mechanics garage,
I thought, yeah.
20 is the trailer, and 5 is the garage.
And it's recommendations here, but you didn't break that part down. Okay, but anyway, yeah, well, if we could, if we get that other number.
The guardrail replacement, this is one project that is actually, there is a line item for it in the highway fund budget that we'll get to when we get there. For the continuation of that project. The salt shed replacement, which is something we considered for a while.
Yeah, that could, to me, that could be pushed back again with the discussion
Is
on.
that one leaking?
Huh?
Is that current one leaking?
No, and it is full now. There was some discussion early in the year, this year with all the area superintendents, when we have our meetings. So I loaded up like all the others did, and we have a large bark on it now. And
Okay, so
weighted
protected.
down, so yeah,
You have a truck in front of it or something else?
Oh.
Get to it, right, don't you? I thought I saw something.
no,
Art there.
no, the old 52 was behind. That truck is, the engine blew on that one. It's
What
nothing.
do with the big one? You could put the army truck.
Still take pails out of there, so.
We can mill our own wood. And carry with fleet.
Always thinking, yeah. No,
You could put it-
but that's, that could say.
Well, you finish your current project and we'll talk about your next one.
Absolutely. I agree.
Then we have the paving project for this year, which is Tappan Terrace and Leewood. Which you have an estimate of 200,000.
Correct.
Then
And that would start in the spring.
It could, yeah.
Was that doing curbs and everything also?
Sorry.
There is concrete curves,
There's concrete,
those, yeah, I have a small drainage project for about 50 grand. It's ice comes out in the winter, the water freezes, just as you go in past Studio Hill, so, but the rest is paving, yeah. No, yeah, the curbs are there already.
And then the Gnome Drive, Slater Parker, Robin Decker area. We did push out to 2024 for the big ticket item for
It is.
debt financing, so.
It's a big area, maybe original road, blacktop curbs,
These are all been measured out, like real, this is, if they're charging.
Tappan and Leewood have, Paul and I discussed roughly paid, Benung and Slater and those, that's a lot. I think you and I discussed maybe breaking it up over a couple of years, the side streets, like Decker and Sutherland and that we could do, and then, tie everything in. So,
Oh, maybe we'll see what the price quotes come out to.
okay, yeah.
It was run there.
Well, it also depends on.
Yeah, it's a lot, it's probably a mile and a half, yeah, all total.
It also depends on the Packer truck. which is about-
Time, that's what,
Mhm.
it's gonna take time to do all that too, right?
Yeah.
How much-
Yeah. But you could break it up like this, yeah.
What
I mean, you could still move around. Cloud area.
I there's no on here, the highway facility feasibility study, we're looking at 15,000 in 2023, so I was just sort of check in. And then 5,000 for some signage for the MoCo project, which is. So then the big conversation, so I was saying, when we're thinking about the paving projects is Packer truck. So Pete has been doing a lot of research on electric options with Packer truck. What we have in the budget here right now is if we were to purchase diesel vehicle. But something that, Pete and I kind of discussed offline is perhaps if the town does want to move forward with an electric option to push that off to 2024, it would be more costly. Perhaps there may be more incentives available in future years. And then that would impact what we're bonding for next year. Might be able to squeeze in some of this additional paving instead of bonding for a vehicle, depending on that decision. So Pete, I don't know if you want to talk about your, what you learned about.
Which one?
Packer
Packer
trucks.
truck.
For the organic waste, we go out every Friday. Garbage.
Okay.
Another term, yeah, but for us, it's only for organic yard waste or brush or during a storm, we go out with that. And the old trucks, but yeah. So our current Mac is 30 years old. We bought used, had 5 put on it, actually, from what I'm told, on my side. You agree with that? It was, yeah, it was, yeah. And so I've had a couple of meetings with the distributors and area reps about the electric vehicles. So, they're very, I'm sorry.
And the fleet manager from New York City.
Yes, and the fleet manager from New York City, yeah, they're trying out, 10, I think it was. I forget.
Oh, that's for the.
But we're lucky ours are only used for that one, because we. So,
What retrofit we have to do to charge it, like, is that included in this? Did you find out about that?
that's nowhere near what this.
Yeah, that's just a general.
Yeah, so-
That's what the electric.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
just a bill.
That's just,
Same capacity as what we
that
have now?
actually is the diesel cost right there.
Mhm.
All right, and with the upgrades to the building, which we would have to do, about 65,000 would be a portable generator, because, we're all talking about leaving, put it into that old facility there. All total, this truck now is about 850.
Does it fit into the building or go?
No,
retrofit the building? Yeah.
not a rocket truck, so maybe 2, I think, but the new freight liners do not either. Our Packer truck now doesn't fit inside. The incentives out there are rebates, about 150 from the state currently. I don't know what the federal government has. They didn't even have the info on that. So, you're down to 7, hopefully more. And these are probably a year and a half out. As it's.
So push it out a year and see what comes up.
Manufacturing of the truck is a year and a half
Right.
out, yeah.
The electric one,
The
the
electric.
diesel one's available.
Yeah.
Well, the diesel one would probably also be, how long
Yeah,
would it take for
it'll take a
that to
while.
get delivered too?
Yeah, that would probably, I don't have a number on that, but
Yeah,
I mean, the freight liners are over a
It's
year,
Yeah.
year and a half,
Yeah.
so, yeah. Ever since the supply demand there, or
I mean, it would be good to hop
Can
on.
the old Packer truck hold it on for another year or two? So,
it's over
Good.
their first round.
I hope.
Yeah, we're not spending too much money on repairs and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Really,
You know.
yeah, again,
Here.
it doesn't get that everyday use like you know, like a garbage truck, you know, banging every day and packing it. So,
We buy some time.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that it really makes sense to put it 1,000, 800,000.
It's hard to know, but
right
then
now,
it's gonna be back.
she's 850.
I would say grant funding would be paid part of it. I mean, if you turn in, and I don't know if that's still gonna be, is it the VW money, that if you turn in a diesel truck, you can get back.
Right.
Okay, keep that anything to. Yeah, you get back a chunk of money through, I think, NYSERDA or somebody, never.
I think 7 is a good number, because 2 is not real at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that would be for that was for the diesel.
Right.
So I'll move out the Packer truck to 2024. And put it for $700,000, and we'll move up. Part of the paving project, so maybe. What do you think, 425, like split half and half? So that capital project.
So will that current truck last another year? Two,
Yeah, so, well, that's,
the guys get together the one year?
that's doing very well. That's my next question. Could it be ordered? Because now we're 3 years out from today.
What are we talking
So the Packer truck. You put the order in, I think, no, you can't.
No,
Okay,
because it has to be approved today. You don't have a capital budget, you don't have funding.
Is there are there any rental options if ours really
oh, sure you could. Yeah.
falls apart?
Yeah. Mhm.
Right, that could have, I mean, it's not an ideal emergency situation, but in the event of an emergency where we don't have it. I mean, that might be helpful to. I mean, look into that a little bit and tell us what that. It looks like. I mean, I don't think we necessarily need to budget, but
Well, if I may, how do you feel? Are you gonna spend that money on this electric vehicle down the road or not? We're 3 years out again. If we do this.
3 years out for a vehicle, hopefully they'll be around 30 years.
Right, that's the
It's
big
like,
issue,
yeah.
with Packers, just that it's around forever, you know.
Yeah, fine.
Right, you'd bond for it and, hopefully in 30, in 30 years. Electric vehicles will hear. No, but I'm thinking about like.
It's
we
got a
might-
useful life of 5 to 10.
Yeah, but you think about, okay,
That's how long it's bought.
what's the situation going to be in 30 years? Are you gonna buy a diesel vehicle that's gonna be around for 30 years, or you buy an electric vehicle that's gonna be around for hopefully as longer time? It's it's from a.
I'm
And the
just,
generator to charge it runs on,
Generator would need, electric, it would need an upgrade from Con Edison. Which,
Say generator, are you talking about?
charger.
Charger.
Okay, and that is about $65,000 and it's affordable because. You probably have a set of run all these lines and outlets and all that over there.
does any municipality have one right now that we would be able to look at and see or know how it's
City.
running?
The city is the
City.
closest,
City.
it has
Yeah.
Packers,
Yeah,
that's why.
I mean, I'm always in favor of electric, but just being the first person to get it and the difference in the cost.
Yeah.
And the need of it.
I think that the city said they're buying tandem motors, I can't remember how many,
Yeah, I
but,
think it was.
I mean, that's the problem is ordering it right now, I would say you want to wait, like, at least you see what the city's got going, because, yes, the problem, it is. We are early back, But the bigger issue is order something that's been around that long, you're not moving the direction, then it's not gonna be there when it needs to be there. So,
I don't want time to get behind the times, and like I said, even if you get the diesel one, it still holds value, right? This was gonna be able to have value in 4 or 5 years from now.
Part of the decision making also is that the current incentives that are available. Require you to dispose of an equivalent diesel vehicle that's more than 30 years old. So if we are to replace, if we're to sell. It's all about getting these vehicles off the road. So if we got a new diesel vehicle, it's not gonna fit incentives, we lose out on those incentives. That's.
Right.
Yeah.
They put a hole in the block.
But I don't think that has value anyway, a 30-year-old.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it has value. If we turn into.
If we turn it into, yeah, by like, yeah.
It's a lot, right? Isn't it?
150, 150, 175, currently through NYSERDA. I don't know any federal, I don't know about it, and they didn't either.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see if the city likes them.
That.
Well,
I'd like to- Right,
And
that's
the
the other-
federal government budget too.
And I have reached
Just
out to her. Yeah, what's her grant writer? Millennium,
yeah.
yeah, I did ask them
Yeah.
about, find out if there is.
Right.
And along with monument repairs, cemeteries or something, historical preservation, so I haven't heard back. Yeah.
I think we have the pieces in mind to actually place the order yet.
I don't know. Do you-
To order,
I mean, I don't know if we can order, because we have to
oh, you could
Send out
order
the
it.
box.
go out to bid for it. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure.
It looks like she has some.
If it's on a
I say,
already established bid, then you're okay. You'd have to get a bond resolution, have that passed before you can place an order for any,
right,
so it's got to pass, lucid and stop.
Yeah.
You have to establish a capital fund.
right. So that's what 90 days at least for
Probably can start.
Yeah. that. So you went to the beginning of the year, which is not a good time. Necessarily the best time. So.
Or she got source, well. You can go off of that, but they're not always.
Or maybe perhaps whatever, this, I think the city was, it was like a sole source. Situation,
Yeah, they got
I think, it's full,
They have a whole different program down there.
Yeah.
They use so many trucks and you get it, yeah.
So 10 is like trying out a half a truck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so I think we'll, try to push it out, I think maybe we'll look into what a rental would look like, so that, kind of know like what's the worst case scenario if this thing stops working on us, if we are in a tight situation.
If you put a down payment on when you order it, that pay the full payment comes in? Or do you have to pay the full? In order for us to do a purchase order, we have to go through this whole permit and all that stuff. 90 days. I think in one day, for down payment, put that much, you got on half down payment, then it comes in a year, half down, but. All right.
Or figure out where your money comes from before you order.
Joining us. Okay.
And then we have these smaller vehicles, small dump truck, salt spreader, and the brush chipper machine.
So the skipper's 20 years old. That goes out there. Brush, doing storms once a week, again with the package truck, small case truck. So just getting a heads up on that.
That's all. Our capital project that we have here. We have to replace the assessor's office. Replace the assessor's office in 2023 at an estimated cost of $11,000. The town has agreed to contribute to the firehouse consolidation study the village is undertaking. So that would be something that we pay out of the town outside villages fund. When that gets away. I have also put in, we have this in last year, but I do think this is something that we should seriously consider. There are a couple of software packages for human resources functions and onboarding paperwork and storing electronic personnel files and things of that nature. I think given the size of our employee count, I think that this would, really go along in the administration of a lot of the personnel functions and also maintain those records electronically and also, taking full advantage of this labor beach program. You put in this request for $10,000 for that software in 2023. Also potentially considering a software to streamline process for board meetings and agendas and sure that may be something that we can forego depending on how later we should look. Part of that program also has some collaborative features to it and file storage and things of that nature. That would be in place of, the clerk's office and I exchanging emails, setting up the agenda on a Friday afternoon. It would be something that we could kind of work collaboratively on in a document and so on and so forth. So it may be that the only software that's really needed would be this HR software. So that's something that I think the board should consider next year. And then we also have our new building department software, which we are receiving grant funding for. So that project will kick off in 2023 as well. Then we did receive a grant for an open space preservation plan with the Valley Greenway. So that is the grant and then our required match for that project. And then at the bottom, you see all of the totals for each year by fund and by funding source. You can see grant funding of it, $800,000, but everything else is also tallies up fast.
Out in the debt.
The grant funding 862 is real money that we definitely got.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. Yeah. Same. Okay, do we want to keep trucking through cemetery and send Mary on its way? Sure.
On free.
Yeah.
That's what I said, we get a can of WD-40 for that.
WD-40.
Yeah.
Sneak up on anybody.
The windows.
Yeah. Okay.
If I could guys it more often, you'd be like,
You know what?
okay, all there, see you later.
So we've got our cemetery fund. Yes, Pete, you're married or saying for this, and I'm gonna let you go. Our cemetery fund is a non-taxing fund, so it is funded by a transfer from the general fund to fund it in addition to the revenues that are brought in by the cemetery. So cemetery operations on its own are not self-sustaining, but it is funded by the general fund. It's not something that goes back out to the taxpayers as a taxing budget. For salary, we have a portion of Pete's salaries paid out of the cemetery fund for his work. And that's a 2% increase, just like again, all of our other elected and appointed officials. We have all of Jose Senior Castro in the cemetery fund, as we discussed earlier, and half of Jose Junior Castro to reflect the work that they're doing day to day. We have overtime line. We do also bring in some revenues when, the cemetery guys work overtime, but if it's a burial on a Saturday, we do charge an extra fee for the burials on a Saturday so that it does come back to the budget as a revenue. We have longevity, all of, again, flip-flop the R and J, all of Jose Senior part of, let's see. No added title pay. You have sick pay incentive for those employees. Neither of the cemetery employees take health stipend. Then in part-time, we have a part-time laborer who currently works for the cemetery 20 hours a week, and his salary went up by 2.25%. In recent years, we also have a seasonal person that was split between parks and cemetery, but now we're looking at a permanent part-time employee in parks. We took that out. So again, a little hard to hire for those jobs. Equipment, this was for some cemetery equipment that was budgeted for, and we just issued a purchase order for some blowers. We did take out that line this year, not anticipating purchases in 2023. So that was some savings to bring down the operating costs of this budget. ARCO cleaning went up a little bit. We do have a consultant line in here, but consultant, so that's just zeroed out. Telephone, we have a phone and internet for the cemetery office. Whenever work is done on the Dale Cemetery website, and then an additional allowance as needed, especially when it comes to the website stuff. have electricity for the buildings. We did increase this last year. Heat. Lower.
What was the contributing factor for the increase in electric? Do we know what it is?
No, I don't.
So is that just the rates going up?
It's going up.
Maybe, yeah.
My bill. Yeah, my bill went up by that much.
I think, can we just make sure that the Con Ed bills are not charged there? It is possible that there's Con Ed bills to the cemetery that for gas meter. Is our electric supply, so it's possible that that's coded.
So the heat went down.
Propane, but yeah, well,
But
for
there's
the
also-
garage, for the building, it's a con.
For the building, it's
Yeah.
gas,
Right.
not like people.
On it.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring that back down to 1,200 and then put the rest of.
Although your power board.
Power authority to the Senate fund, that's just what it is.
It's all.
So we're.
Part of them.
So maybe we just leave it, and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just gonna leave it, but
Yeah.
tell. Should be charged to heat, not electricity. And kind of bills that are paid, because that's. It's our electricity.
404.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And electric is,
electric, I pay those bills, she doesn't get those, that's NIPA.
okay, so. So for gas, cut it,
Gas is Con Ed, and she gets charged to heat. Just like the propane bills.
okay.
Okay. Printing and postage, we're going to keep purchases some plot cards and other Yeah.
Deeds.
deeds, yeah, the paper, yeah. So we don't have anything budgeted there, but it's some incidental expenses. We do have 2,500 budgeted for office and supplies. Professional dues and meetings for Pete to attend the Association of Towns meetings. Or to be a member of the, excuse me, to be a member of the Association of Cemeteries. And then $900 for him to attend the conference. Then in unleaded fuel, we did increase this from 5,000 to 7,500. Increased costs. We decreased the monument foundation concrete costs, 8,000 to 4,500.
The balance or because it's gone.
Well, you don't know how many foundation orders you gotta get each year, but.
But per unit, per foundation. This year.
Last year, that's like. That,
We also did.
Maintenance and repair buildings and grounds, that's sort of the general maintenance and repair. Uniforms, we have, so again, moving around the Jose's, we have brought some more of their Teamsters, the uniform allowance back into the cemetery funds, that's why it's going out. And then there's also clothing that they wear during funerals, so it's a little bit more presentable in those situations. In-service training, like safety training that the guys have to attend. Trees, Pete requested an increase for tree work at the cemetery.
They're just trimming or?
would be both cemeteries, yeah, we spent a lot of Sparta this year.
So maybe that's where the sawmill thing comes into play too. That's gonna be a big undertaking like cemetery that would work.
What did you get that big tree in that?
I don't know.
You have it? You have it?
The only talking about oak tree, the,
Came down.
oh no, that, there was one that, there was an oak, there was a tree I picked up at the entrance on Black Farm.
Oh, yeah,
That big tree.
I don't know if exactly.
it was, yeah, hanging over the guy's house on Dale Avenue, yeah.
Sparta, that's the problem.
Sparta,
The fact of
Oh,
Sparta.
that big, no, there was a tree, but I have it. whatever she knows, whatever trees that we can mill, see. Well, yeah, no, that's just part of, no, I think,
Well, you just said you did a lot of tree work at Sparta, and I was asking if you took the tree down at the back of Sparta, at the bottom of Sparta,
it's a big old.
the one that you. And Jane both complained about.
That got trimmed, heavily, yes, and then coming in off of Route 9.
Right.
A big maple that's like that got trimmed off, so I hope we get a few units out of that.
I don't know, I don't. know.
Yeah. And then the other one on the south side of Florida, north side of Florida.
At bottom.
Thank you, guys.
Or- okay.
Okay, trees, columbarium plaques, this again has an offsetting revenue and. Rise of plaque.
Yes.
Water charges at the cemetery, we did keep the same. Monument room, that was because it was so dry this year, that was high. We didn't increase it years past, because it was so high.
Monument repairs.
No, sorry, water charges.
Oh, water, don't forget, it's, well, it's both cemeteries, and they do the cleanings and. Foundations. Yeah. Two of them are seasonal, because the house stays on. We shut them off next week.
Okay. Monument repairs, again, we talked about this. And then intermunicipal trash bill. There it is. in there. Okay, into the revenues from the cemetery. We increased the sale of plots from 70 to 80. Increase the interment fees from 85 to 95. Inscriptions still at 350. The foundations, again, this offsetting revenues, the cost of the so the concrete is here. Donations, should they come in. Columbarium plaques again, those purchasing plaques. Vice versa. Anytime they sell any scrap metal, things like future. And when we sell surplus equipment, which we haven't, do we have any surplus equipment to sell this year?
Probably truck 52, the engine's blown. Yeah.
You could determine against the other one.
I think it doesn't work, it has to be the same type of vehicle. Believe me. We have tried this story before. We tried it. The insurance recoveries, if any, insurance, NYMER, and unclassified revenues for, I don't know what, but it's that come in that are unclassified. Okay, that is the great cemetery.
Okay, now we
Any questions?
Plural.
Mary?
Reeves.
Cemeteries, okay. Shall we take a break until, 2:30 and then we're.
Yeah, I would like.
Highway?
Something mostly.
only had one.
Yeah.
Get coffee. Tea, coffee.
Okay, world, we are pausing.
There's a.
Ready?
All right. Continue.
So highway is another one with a number of different budgets and things going on, so it's a little all over the place, but start here with the confusing part that kind of gets thrown in, it's really weird. And that is, we have a number of sewer lifts, we have, two, really one sewer lift station that's located in our parks. So the cost associated with that sewer lift station is charged to the general fund. So this is the sewer lift station that is at OPCC. So this is, so we have a special budget for it anytime that they're called out in overtime, or any electricity costs associated with that pump. And then we also have the all makes martial alarms and standby bills that are the regular maintenance on the pumps and an allowance for emergencies, which we did recently have had something to replace at that station. Yeah, so basically this whole budget is
Just for that one property.
just for that one property. But because that's to do with sewer, that's why it's here, and because it's in the general fund, it shows up first in this report.
I'm sorry, so 21,000
$21,300
is
is that
all
whole
for
level.
OBCC
Correct,
pump station.
correct. But I mean, as you can see, we often don't spend that much, but that is what we have to budget for, because who knows what could happen.
Thanks so part-time.
Okay, then getting into the actual highway department budget. The first portion has to do with the street administration. So these are the administrative costs of running the highway department, like our administrative staff. So this is where we have one Pete Connolly, 2% over 2022 for his highway portion of his. And Alicia Santucci, who is the office assistant, she's at step 2 this year. 10% of their salaries are reallocated to the sewer fund because of the work that they do associated with the sewer fund, so it's charged back there. We have sick pay incentive, this would be for Alicia. Because she's the only union employee that fits under this budget, so up there. Health stipend, she also is not on our health insurance. Previously, Alicia was a part-time employee, and before that, we had other part-time employees, that's why that line is there, but we don't have anything budgeted because we did move Alicia up to a full-time position last year. This equipment is just office equipment, so for your computers and any other general equipment they might have. Office. We have ARCO cleaning here, again, the reason why this was so high was we did charge the feasibility study for this line for the highway and parks facility. But otherwise, it's for ARCO cleaning. Under telephone, this is the cable bills, the internet bills, telephone bills, and also Pete's cell phone gets charged to this line. Then we have the electricity for the office, not the whole facility, but just the office. Printing and postage for any little incidental stuff that you need to do. First aid kit, office supplies, etc. The copier lease. Professional dues and meetings, this is the professional association that Pete is a part of as a highway superintendent and to attend their conference. We have a line for labor council. This is for when our labor council does any work associated with employees in the highway department. So when I get those bills every month, I divvy it up based on the work that they've done for each of the funds. Water charges are for the village of Briarcliff, which we pay water. We're on their water system, and the water cooler in the office. Capital improvements expenses for any capital improvements to the office. So when Pete got started, they did some painting and floor work. So we have $1,000 budgeted there for any other sort of improvements that need to be done. But most of that they're able to do in-house. So that is the first part of the highway budget. There
was a line item for that. I mean. For.
Yeah.
Okay, you saw that?
Yeah. Okay. Then we're moving into the street maintenance. So this is most of the rest of our employees, except for the employees who work in the garage. So currently we have 2 MEOs, Mike Blanco and Don Orlando. We have 3 road maintainers. We do have budgeted in here for Marco, who is currently a road maintainer, to consider promotion to MEO. So similar to the assistant park foreman position, this would be a position we'd have to post and make available to all of the members of the unit to apply for. But no done for Marco, but everyone will have.
Just the highway did it, or anybody employing that?
Anyone in the Teamsters union.
Teamsters.
And Vittorio is at a road maintainer level now. He has been with the town now for 5 years, so he's a road maintainer, not a laborer. So we would have 3 MEOs, 3 road maintainers, no laborers. And then we have our highway foreman, whose a portion of the highway foreman salary does get charged back to the sewer fund. We have overtime for any work associated again with street maintenance, and this is not for snow plowing. Longevity, all of our employees who qualify for longevity, which right now that Vittorio has been with the town for 5 years, all of our employees get at a title when they work at a title. sick pay incentive, and some of them do. Qualify for sick pay incentive. Part-time is where we have the seasonal help for, leaf season and, spring season. The way that we tried to structure it this year, but again, we've had some changes of people moving on to their, to some new, bigger and better opportunities. Where we had 2 seasonal employees during the year and 1 part-time employee consistent throughout the year. So that will be something we'll be revisiting, Thursday. For telephone, we have Kevin's cell phone is allocated here. We were misapplying Pete's telephone into the wrong line, so that's why it looks like it's higher, and we adjusted that, so. It's not fixed. Unleaded fuel, we have increased from 11,000 to 15,000. Diesel from 15,000 to 22. Maintenance and repair of buildings and grounds, from 20 to 15. Road material and maintenance, this is sort of, the general stuff they need to purchase, drainage materials, and then here's the $30,000 for guardrails. Pete requested an increase this year from 18 to 30, so. And then road paving, this is for like, when they're filling potholes, they're small road paving projects. Right here. Or really going up to the spare page.
Brookside in 133, that's the request, at that triangle there, somebody ran it, it's fenced. And then the bottom of Broken Dam Road, somebody went off the road across from John Joe's house over there, and she requested it also, so.
Did we ever recoup any money from the insurance company if they have an accident and ruin a guardrail?
There wasn't any there,
Oh,
that was it.
so if they're there, they get damaged, I'll do the
I guess you
alternate.
could, yeah. But I think we'll be in good shape after next year.
Yeah.
Because we've been working on it 3 or 4 years.
For in-service training, so training, safety training, they'll have to attend. And then we have money allotted for the bottled water when they're out on the roads. Street administration, now we get into the machinery side of things. So we have Chuck Boughton. So Chuck has been in position of auto mechanic now for 2 years, which means he now has the qualifications under civil service for us to consider promoting him to senior auto mechanic, which was the title that Gary Cesare had when he retired. He was a lead guy in the mechanic shop. Again, though, we will have to post internally for that promotion, but Chuck seems like the one that will end up there. Alan Sanchez is our assistant auto mechanic who's been with the town for a year, so he will get a bump up in salary at the beginning of the year, and then also in February, his anniversary. Overtime for work associated with garage, longevity for Chuck. Equipment, we did bring it down to 25. I think because we've just historically been high there.
Does that include the daily tire machine you just purchased, right? I think it was
Yes.
18 or something.
Did you get a new tire machine?
Yeah,
Okay.
and balance it very nice. Yeah, modern. Now we can do the larger tires, but yeah.
And not paying somebody else outside
Instead of
contract.
going to Corsi or stuff like that, yeah.
Then we have parts and labor, and we had this is allocated someplace else instead of purchasing a new back truck last year, we started renting one. So first we had it in this line, but we have it has its own home elsewhere. And is the machine, oh no, we're still going, electricity for the garage. Heat for the garage, which we increased 15. Materials and supplies for the garage. Maintenance and repair of the garage well. And water charges to that building, just water to that building as well. Then next we have weeds and brush. So this is for taking care of things on the side of the road, the equipment associated with that. for whatever reason, this is where uniform allowance lives. And then maintenance and repair of that equipment, and then the tree maintenance, which Pete did request an increase to 50,000 this year from 45 last year, and that does include some money to bring in an arborist to evaluate the condition of the trees when they're taken down or pruned or whatever needs to be done. Or snow removal. So this is overtime for snow specifically. Out of title for snow specifically. $1,000 in a contractual line for in the event all our guys can't plow snow for whatever reason.
Not gonna get much.
And we are not gonna get much for that, but it's there.
But I can't,
500 feet. Look.
I reached out to COVID, see if anybody's available, but that would cut the one, but
Yeah. So not getting far on that one. Materials and supplies is for, meals and stuff when they're working late nights. Salt is salt. And sand is sand. And then we have liquid calcium for, freezing the fry, so.
So that goes down before the storm.
no, we don't retreat. It mixes with salt. Yeah, we don't.
Makes it last longer or makes it
Yeah,
more?
yeah, it keeps the salt from bouncing off the road too. A lot of times you see it, yeah. Retreating, yeah, we don't do that.
Snow removal. Now we are in the sanitary sewer system. So we have these portions of Pete, Alicia, and Kevin's salaries in the sewer fund. Overtime associated with sewer fund. Nothing with longevity, nothing with part-time. That again, we had staff in the office. That was part-time, part of that here. Standby pay, that's something we negotiated in the last Teamsters agreement. Equipment for the sewer fund. Nothing, telephone, electricity, so that's the electricity for the pump stations. Consulting services there. Repairs and maintenance of equipment, the general repairs of the sewer system, and the IMA with the village for discharge into the village lines. Yeah. That's the sewer fund. Now we're in refuse. So we have the Recollect software, which is the Recycle Right app that we have. People can access the garbage calendar on their phones online, as well as the printing of the garbage calendar. We haven't done that this year, so that's why it's showing nothing came through there, but we haven't done
We have
this
to
year.
wait for
Yeah,
this, yeah.
yeah, we haven't done anything this year, so that's why.
Check their
it's,
schedule and work.
Yeah, and we're also waiting for
Yeah.
we have IMAs for our leaf disposal with the village, refrigerator pickup and other expenses. Refuse dumping for Westchester County. Contractual refuse, we do have a bid out right now. We did, based upon the rate for 2022, we estimated an increase by CPI, so we have a placeholder in here until the bid comes in and we see what it looks like. 17. And then we have other costs associated with recycling to town of Portland, environmental waste or recycling, laptop, things of that nature, and green waste. That's refuse and collection. And then revenues for the highway department, we have our road opening permits, which we increased slightly. And then sales of recyclables is when they sell scrap metal, things like that. And if we ever sell surplus equipment, but again, that's the budget for. Another decision we made this year, so the sewer fund is paid for as a taxing district, so there's property taxes levied against the sewer district. But then there is also a sewer unit charge, which is a rate that we have not increased in a number of years. So we have been evaluating that closely, but we did decide to increase the sewer unit charge from 52 to 60. Yeah, from 52 to 60. It hasn't been increased again in many years. And so this is a way to offset the cost. I mean, obviously the taxpayers are still paying it, the users of the system are still using it. But it's, the unit charges are supposed to be tied more closely to the, what is actually being generated by the use of the property. So if it's a single family home, it's 1 unit. If it's a facility like Club Fit, it's 100 units. I don't know what Club Fit is off the top of my head, but it's, you know, tying it more closely to the use of the facility versus the value of that. And so it's a way to capture the use charge of the sewer system. So that's not something that we've increased for a number of years, but this year we are increasing it to 6. Are there any questions? Otherwise, have completed the 2023 budget work session. Victoria. Thank you guys. Yeah. Yeah, longest one.
Yeah, definitely.
Most pages, yeah.
All right, no questions, everybody good? We're good, fantastic, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. That's it, right? That's it, good to go, done, I'll take my nap.